The drag show would be held in May, called the Gospel of the Drag. That brewery hosts the brunches that they call family-friendly on one Sunday of the month. Videos of the dancing that the children are exposed to can be seen at 1819news.com. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Covenant Rescue Group seeks to directly support organizations and agencies that are fighting the global battle against human trafficking. They do this through funding, procuring, and advocating. You can go to covenantrescue.org for further details. They need your donations, guys. Hop on and donate.
A 30-year-old man in Loxley is now charged with production of child pornography. John Plemons is accused of filming a young boy in a convenience store restroom where he works. The boy spotted the camera and notified his parents. That's when Plemons was arrested. Several electronics belonging to Plemons were also seized by police. Police in Geneva are calling it a case of arson after a residence was found burning. Evidence gathered at the scene confirms that the blaze was intentional. Police are now asking for any nearby businesses or homeowners with security cameras to provide the footage for April 8th from midnight to 1 a.m. in order to find out who started the blaze. And singer Amy Grant is coming to Alabama. Grant will perform on April 12th, which is a Friday, at the Oxford Performing Arts Center. Tickets are already on sale. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Do you or a loved one have leg pain? Are your legs feeling tired? Do you have heavy skin discoloration? Do you have leg wounds or varicose veins? Are your legs swelling or do they have spider veins? If you're experiencing any vein issues, contact the professional caring staff at Ivy Creek Vein Clinic. They can help. Call 334-514-3851. Ivy Creek Vein Clinic, located at 525 Hospital Drive, Suite B in Wetumpka.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
What the hell are we doing here?
We are behaving the way a superpower ought to behave.
Well, our behavior has produced some crappy results.
Hold on to your butt.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon, or as we call it online, Joey Clark Live. Appreciate all the love on the X platform the last few days. You can watch there at the Joey Clark, or you can watch Joey Clark Live on YouTube. Now, without further ado, we have a packed show today, a very packed show indeed. We have the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, how you doing today?
I'm well, Joey. Thank you, my dear friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well, busy, let's just say. Now, I'd noticed, because I'm so busy, I wasn't able to watch yet. But you talked to Colonel McGregor this morning, I believe asking the provocative question, is World War III begun? Well, has it?
It's very, very close. And if Mike Johnson and the Republicans send $61 billion to Ukraine, and if Netanyahu continues to attack Iran, yes, World War III will have begun. Netanyahu desperately wants the U.S. to back him up in a war against Iran. And the government doesn't know what it's doing with Ukraine. It doesn't recognize that most of Asia, Africa, Latin America, and half of Europe are now adverse to the United States, that Russia is far stronger than all of NATO combined, that the NATO military forces are decrepit compared to Russia's, and the stage is set. Russia doesn't want a war, but it won't back off from one. Joe Biden wants to run for re-election as a wartime president. Netanyahu would love nothing more than to destroy the government of Iran. So it's a mess.
An absolute mess, and we'll just keep watching. It's one of those things where you learn, certain things are out of your control, and you shouldn't worry about them too much. But it's good to be informed, and we'll keep watching the wire here. But it makes me nervous, especially for the youngest in our population. I worry they might bring something like the draft back.
Well, it wouldn't be too difficult for them to bring the draft back. I mean, the draft to me is slavery. It's profoundly unconstitutional. It's prohibited by the 13th Amendment, but been employed by the government many times since the ratification of the 13th Amendment. These are not wars to defend American national security. Israel is not even an ally of the United States, and neither is Ukraine. If you define an ally as a country with which we have a treaty that obligates us to defend the country. If you want a looser definition, a country whose survival profoundly affects American national security, neither of them is. But we seem to be wedded at the hip to both of them. I don't know what happens if Trump gets elected. He's more pro-Israel than Biden is, but he wants nothing to do with Ukraine.
Yeah, and I think Trump continues to defy the odds. An absurd statement coming out from John Brennan saying Trump wants to just give Putin the green light to march across Europe. And I just don't see that whatsoever. As much as Trump, I think, finds this war wasteful with Ukraine, doesn't want to send more money over there, he also doesn't strike me as, let's say, a dove. It wouldn't be like Ron Paul in the White House.
Well, no, he's not an isolationist. He might very well bring troops home. And he might close down some of the more than 1,000 foreign military bases that we have. The statement by Brennan, which I hadn't heard since you just recounted it, is really born in ignorance and ideological preference. There's not a scintilla of evidence that Putin wants to do anything more than make sure that Ukraine does not join NATO and NATO does not put offensive weapons in Ukraine. He has no interest whatsoever in moving into any other country. This is a cockamamie lie. It's worse than propaganda because they know it's untrue. It's a lie propagated by the Biden administration intended to scare the weak-willed Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives, into allowing this aid to Ukraine to come to a floor vote. Apparently, he's going to allow that, and he's going to allow my column this week is on this subject. He's going to allow a vote on Section 702, but not allow a vote to modify 702. It's just going to be up or down. Now, I'm in favor of down. I'm in favor of no vote, because then it just dies a natural death on the 19th. By allowing a vote and not permitting amendments, he virtually guarantees that it will pass. What is it? It allows federal intelligence communities, including the CIA, which is not supposed to do any spying in the United States, to spy on foreigners in the United States and the Americans with whom they communicate and the Americans with whom those Americans communicate. The CIA has asked that be extended out to the 6th generation. Now, if you do the math, that 6th generation will quickly turn 180 into 180 million.
Well, and we
talked about none of them cares about the Constitution. Mike Johnson doesn't. He doesn't care about the CIA charter, which prohibits spying in the United States. He just cares about pleasing his masters in the intelligence community, even though he appears to be a perfectly properly behaved individual. Who knows if they have dirt on him? They certainly have dirt on many members of Congress.
That is definitely how they squeeze necks and twist arms. And, you know, we've talked about this issue before, but it's been a while. You know, I've talked to members of Congress here in Alabama, and other than maybe Barry Moore, occasionally Senator Tuberville, everybody in the Alabama delegation is pretty hawkish. I think it has something to do with, you know, Redstone Arsenal and all these military bases we have around these parts. But they'll say something about 702 of, well, this helps us stop terrorism and potential terror attacks. And yet they never are able to show me the goods. I mean, have you ever seen any evidence that 702 actually works at stopping terror attacks?
No. The FBI has concocted stings that they have set up And during the sting, they've used 702 so that they can claim that 702 helped them stop some disaffected young Muslim male loner who thought he was exploding explosive, and it turned out to be wheat flour, some nonsense like that. And they'll claim they use 702, but there's not a single case that they can demonstrate in which the employment of 702 has saved human lives. I'm going to go one step farther. I don't care if they have such a case. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, not 702, not the intelligence community, not Mike Turner, the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, who likes to scare the daylights out of people by saying he knows stuff he can't say, and we better vote the right way or something will happen. Somebody like that should be kicked out of Congress for obstructing members of Congress from voting their consciences by scaring them with nonsense.
Now, shifting gears but staying with domestic policy, what do you make of, again, this latest push of President Biden just defying the court on the question of student loans? Seems they've come up with another way around the court, just straight up defying the court. I mean, if the court can't stop a president, who can? How is the Constitution even valid if it can't be enforced?
Well, someone will have to sue the president. The last case was a crazy case because the president was sued by 2 states because the states were somehow involved in the financing mechanism. I mean, the way the financing mechanism works is the parents and the student qualify, the feds approve it. The money comes from a bank. It doesn't come from the federal government. But the feds guarantee the repayment of the loan. So when the feds excuse you from repaying the loan, then the money has to come from the federal treasury to pay the bank. And that violates the Constitution, which says that money can only come from the federal treasury that's been approved by Congress. Now, who would sue? Well, the bank is not going to sue. It's going to get its money back. The students are not going to sue because they're not students anymore. They're relieved of debt. The parents are not going to sue. They're relieved of debt. The only person that would sue is somebody along the line that is burnt here. So in the case that went to the Supreme Court, there were 2 states, Missouri, and I don't remember which other one was involved. They had somehow been involved in this financing, and therefore they had standing to sue. Can a member of Congress sue the president for violating a Supreme Court opinion? Theoretically, yes, but the court wouldn't hear the suit and say Congress has other tools available to it, like impeachment or the enactment of a statute over the president's veto. So why is he doing this? Well, he's doing this because he wants these people to vote for him.
Right.
It's no question.
Exactly
What
right.
he's doing. It's almost a bribe. He's almost taking federal dollars and giving it to these people. They've done nothing wrong. They just borrowed money from a bank so they could go to college. These kids are not kids anymore. They're adults. They've graduated. They're out in the workforce. They're saddled with debt. Suddenly it's gone, not because of the Congress, not because of the Democrats, but because of one person, Joe Biden. Golly, he removed me from that monthly payment. He's got my vote and the vote of my spouse and the vote of my friends. I guess that's what his thinking is.
And it's just a crying shame. You're right. I think it is just the vote buying that we normally see. And now going to former President Trump, I guess the latest legal case that's in the news today is this business records case that crosses over with what the hush money payment with Stormy Daniels.
Well, that is a criminal trial that is starting on Monday, a week from yesterday. He has tried all kinds of creative ways to prevent it from happening, but he's lost all of them. It'll take a week to pick 16 jurors that don't have an opinion on this. Trump will be sitting in the courtroom twiddling his thumbs, bored to death while that's going on. He must be there the entire time of the trial. He can't act out. He can't storm out of the courtroom if he hears testimony he doesn't like, as he did in his civil trials. He can't be excused from the courtroom while the case is going on for constitutional reasons. So it's going to be quite a burden on him with which he is not accustomed. And some of the testimony, Joey, is going to be lurid. This woman, Stormy Daniels, is going to describe, apparently in vivid detail, what happened in that hotel room where she claims she thought she was up there for an interview to see if he would put her on his show, The Apprentice, and they ended up having a physical liaison.
And some claim about a rolled up magazine with Trump's face on the cover being used to spank somebody. It is lurid.
It is lurid. And Michael Cohen is also going to give some lurid testimony, not on the sexual side, but on the financial side. The mechanism for paying off this woman was very, very creative. A guy named David Pecker, who is the founder and former owner of National Enquirer, since has sold it, and was once one of Trump's closest friends. He will testify to the mechanism used to do what's called catch and kill. Catch and kill is when a woman has a negative story about Trump. You say to her, okay, we'll pay you $50,000 for the story. Oh, that's great. She interviews the reporter writes up the story, and then the National Enquirer spikes the story. So the girl gets her $50,000, in return for which she signed a non-disclosure agreement. The story is never published. Everybody's happy. Trump's happy. The girl's happy. The money came from the Trump organization. Is that an ordinary and reasonable business expense under the tax code? The prosecutor is going to argue that it's not. In the case of Stormy Daniels, this was done in order to save his campaign. Is that a valid campaign expense? It is not. Is it a valid corporate expense? Is it not? Would it have been illicit? Would it have been a licit personal expense? Yes. Yes, if he had written that check for $130,000 out of his own bank account, we wouldn't be having this case.
What a mess. I'm a little baffled because if Donald Trump is essentially thrown in prison or jail because of something like what you described, I think this country falls apart. Sorry, but
there'll be an extraordinary reaction, I'm sure. It's hard to predict exactly what would happen, but there'll be an extraordinary reaction. You know, there are people who worship at his altar. Let's put it that way.
Oh, sure. And now, shifting gears here back to the overseas, to the Vatican, which you've spent some time in. Are you surprised by this new doctrinal note? They have condemned sex change operations, gender theory outright, and surrogate motherhood as well. To me, this makes sense from the church I was raised in. Does it to you?
I am not surprised by it because the Pope, who's, I think, about to leave us, is trying to push the pendulum back a little bit in order to prevent an overreaction by cardinals who might elect a super traditionalist to replace him. In terms of the theology in the document, it's correct, but it's thin, and it's late in the day. It's a political stunt, but it's not a matter of whether I agree with it. It's absolutely consistent with church teaching that the intentional butchering of the body is mortally sinful, and gender is assigned to conception, and it's not an act of will.
Well, and I look at their new poll results out about IVF and abortion, what Americans' opinions are. I think it's Gallup polling. And it's astounding. 70% of Americans say they want abortion to be legal in this poll.
Well, Trump must have seen that poll when he came out with what he came out with, but he's going to lose the right to life vote. You and I have talked about this before, and this is not a criticism of my college classmate, Justice Alito. He needed 5 votes. I wish that he had authored an opinion defining the baby in the womb, the fetus in the womb as a person, but he didn't. Said it belongs to the states. Well, question: have there been more abortions under Roe versus Wade per month, or more abortions under Dobbs? It's more abortions under Dobbs. It's made things infinitely worse. Not in Alabama. not in Texas, but in New Jersey, where I live, is the abortion capital of the East Coast, or California, which is the abortion capital of the West Coast. New Jersey permits abortion up to the moment after delivery, after birth. You don't like the blue eyes? Put a blanket on the baby so he doesn't get too cold, but don't give the baby any nourishment or medication. This is just repellent, but this is lawful under Dobbs.
Yeah, it does leave it to the state. Though there's part of me that likes the decentralization, even when states engage in allow for depraved behavior in their laws. I kind of like the idea that Alabama can be Alabama and let Jersey or Vermont do what they want.
Well, I like the fact that you can vote with your feet, but certain issues are so fundamental, like the right to be alive. I mean, suppose New Jersey suspended the laws against murder. Would it still be a crime to kill? Well, under the natural law, yes. But what would judges do? I mean, there's only so you can only go so far with the idea of voting with your feet.
Well, and I always appreciate your time. We're running out of time here. Again, folks, if you want to watch Judge Napolitano's podcast, it's called Judging Freedom, wherever podcasts are available. I tend to watch on YouTube, or you can always go to judgenap.com. And as always, I appreciate your time, kind sir.
Oh, thank you. Today's my heavy hitter day. Jeff Sachs and Colonel McGregor in the morning. This afternoon, Matt Ho, Karen Kwiatkowski, and the inimitable 4:30 Eastern, Scott Ritter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joey. All the best.
Again, folks, that's Judge Andrew Napolitano. Always appreciate his time. We do have a very packed show today. But first, let me say hi to my co-host. Hey, Eddie, how you doing?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing all right. I think I'm surviving, in fact. Yeah.
See, you're leading into the black still. You know,
what do you mean?
Summer is here, Joey. Let's bring out some pretty summer colors.
Why?
Maybe some pastels or some stuff.
Well, so you can accuse me of being gay?
No, I just...
That's exactly what you're going to say. I showed off my new Whoop band, and you're like, whoa.
What'd I tell you?
Joey's a little light in his loafers.
What were my exact words?
You said it was not.
Thank you.
Yeah, but out of nowhere, you saying it was not that kind of sounds like you think it is.
I just think you're a little paranoid.
Oh, wait, so you're saying it's like me apologizing to Mike Rogers for saying he looked like Liz Cheney and that his hair was fake?
I see similarities there.
Yeah, well, I did apologize, though, in writing.
Yeah, in writing. Now, how often does that happen nowadays?
Not often.
Right.
And well, see, I wasn't forced. My own conscience told me I needed to apologize.
It's good to know that you got in touch with yourself like that. That you're able to go dive deep and go, oof.
I'm very in touch with myself, yes.
I see.
Hey, we got to hit this break because we have another libertarian joining us.
Cool.
Dr. Michael Reinwald. It's called Wreck the Regime is his campaign name. You can follow him.
I like that.
REC, the regime, Wreck the Regime on Twitter. And he should be joining us by phone here at any moment. So y'all stay tuned. More news and views in the afternoon after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Glenn Murdoch. Alabama is a great place to live and work and raise our families because Alabamians are a good people of faith and traditional values. But a huge gambling bill in Montgomery would change our culture forever. Neon-light casinos bringing more crime to our big cities and small towns. Highly addictive cell phone betting, and the state selling the lie of lottery riches to the poor and most vulnerable. With all that's wrong in the world, this is no time to give up on our traditional values in Alabama. Call and ask your senator to be the leader you elected them to be. To stand strong and vote no on gambling and keep the Alabama we know and love. Thank you.
Call your senator at 334-261-0800. 334-261-0800. 334-261-0800. Paid for by Alabama Eagle Forum, Box 130757, Birmingham.
Honey, did you call an electrician to put in that new bathroom outlet?
No, I thought I'd just get Cousin Ray.
He's not a real electrician.
Oh, Ray's handy. He can do anything.
Being handy and being an electrician are two different things. Electricity is complicated and potentially dangerous. Each year there are thousands of home fires caused by faulty wiring. You need an expert. To wear the Crosby Electric uniform, you have to undergo background checks, drug testing, continuing education, and rigorous safety training. When you need electrical work, or if you just like someone to assess your home for safety, call the experts at Crosby Electric.
So, how about that nice outlet Ray installed in the bathroom?
Do you think it's safe?
It's fine. See, when I plug in my electric razor, it...
Now the lights are out. I am not sleeping a wink until you get Crosby Electric out here.
Don't take chances with electricity. Call the experts at Crosby Electric, 272-2085, or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
I'm a waitress, so I know the difference between regular shoes and Skechers slip-resistant work shoes. Skechers slip-resistant work shoes make my job go like this. Here's your pasta primavera.
Thanks.
While regular shoes make my job go like this. Here's your pasta And that difference is why I wear Skechers slip-resistant work shoes to keep me safe on my feet. Plus, they're easy to clean and have Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam for comfort throughout my shift. Get America's #1 selling work shoe at Skechers.com, a Skechers store near you, or wherever work shoes are sold.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health...
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to the program. And now, as promised, folks, first time talking to this gentleman, it is Mr. Wreck the Regime himself. We have Michael Reinwald on the program over the phone. Sir, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing quite well. So you are running for president to be the Libertarian Party's presidential candidate. I ask all candidates, whether they're running for president or mayor or senate, whatever they're running for, why do this to yourself?
I'm doing this, I don't think that I have a shot at winning, quite frankly. I'm doing this because I'm using this as a platform to get across the message of liberty and the means of attaining it. And that's what this campaign is all about. I am not delusional enough to think that I would win, but I think there are other victories that we can achieve, and that is increasing the scope of liberty in the United States, getting this message into the public discourse, and even changing the parties themselves.
Yeah, here. And do you think people are more thirsty than ever for this message here in this country?
Yeah, I think that the federal government has an enormous preeminent and oppressive organ that people are really laboring under, and they have no illusions about its benevolence. They know that it's not designed, and it's not protecting their interests. In fact, it's attacking their interests, and so it needs to be dismantled. That's what I think people really know is the case. And we saw that this message reverberated and won in Argentina in the case of Javier Milei. This is a message whose time has come.
And Milei's victory is certainly remarkable. I never thought in my years when I was reading Rothbard and Mises and so many others that I would see an anarcho-capitalist running a country, and he's following through, which is beautiful to behold. But he sold it in his own way with his own personality, and I think he even had an environment with the inflation down there that folks really started to understand, especially the economic point of view. So how do you sell liberty to Americans as you go around this great country of ours?
Well, first of all, you show them the extent to which they're in chains. And that's very easy to point out, that they're being surveilled upon, they're being taxed to death, being trammeled in every way possible. This federal government is robbing them to pay for proxy wars. This federal government is robbing them to give money to immigrants. It is robbing them for everything that they have. And it's really a vampire. It's really a parasite. And that should be very clear to people. And I can make it very clear in showing them what a parasite it is, how it is sucking the lifeblood out of our people. And that's the message. And I am running as an anarcho-capitalist unabashedly. It is necessary to have that as a goal, the absolute abolition of government, of the state, because that goal will lead us in the right direction.
And so it's sort of an ideal that we would like to actually realize, but just trudging towards that ideal, good things will come of it.
That's exactly right. And if you're a minarchist, you believe in minimal government is necessary to protect rights, that's just fine, because you're a step along the way. And if we could get the minarchy like that, I would be quite happy, but I wouldn't be content. I would still go further. But, nevertheless, this has to be the asymptote, the goal that really is not reachable in our lifetimes, but which should be the North Star that guides us so that we know we're heading in the right direction. Anytime somebody wants to add something to the state, add something to the government, that has to be opposed. We cannot add anything more. We need to dismantle. So you have RFK Jr. talking about acting as if he's an outsider when he's just another big federal government operative who thinks that it just needs to be run by benevolent people like himself, and everything will be just fine. That's outrageous.
And I think I like your idea of going for the jugular here, for lack of a better term, because as you've written about, if folks don't know, Michael has a book called The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty. So when you look at the United States government and all the many different interests, the interests that probably control this country don't stop at the border. We'd like to think, we're still nation states, but there's a lot of, say, globalist agenda here that is flowing through our government. Could you lay out for folks how the Great Reset plays into our country?
Yeah. So, the Great Reset has been initiated by international intergovernmental agencies and NGOs like the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. They have set in place the full reset of the global economy, and inclusive of that is a complete reset of our social lives, such that they would have almost complete control over us, every move, what we buy, what we spend money on, what we eat, whether we drive cars, whether we drive gasoline-fueled cars, whether we use gas stoves. Everything is on the agenda for these people. They want to cut and curtail our liberties dramatically. And that is being driven into the national government and even into state and local governments, as they execute these plans of Agenda 2030 and effectively make these things law. That's what they're attempting to do. So the answer is to resist it through local decentralization, and having control of local governments that just will not execute the desiderata.
Now, again, folks, we're talking to Dr. Michael Reinwald. He is a presidential candidate going for the Libertarian Party's nomination. You have not yet grabbed that nomination. What's the process like there? How do you win this thing?
Well, there are state conventions all around the country, which I've gone to, and then there's a national convention. In those state conventions, they nominate delegates who vote for the presidential candidates. And so it's not this wildly popular vote that is determinative. It's rather the vote of these delegates. So in May, and over Memorial Day weekend in D.C., there was a national convention that will be held, during which time these delegates will vote on the candidates. And I am in the lead. I have the largest voting block, behind me. It is a blocking vote, too. We're blocking. And I think we're going to pull it off, and then I think that there's a chance that even RFK Jr. will seek this nomination, in which case I will have beat a Kennedy because he has no chance.
Yeah, and his VP pick did not inspire all the, I'm good friends, say, with Jeff Dice. And him and I been looking at RFK for a while, especially the work he did during COVID, but that VP pick did not inspire confidence, at least along libertarian lines, by any means.
No, I mean, everything he's done or said otherwise has been really a total travesty. And he is, talking about adding layers to the federal government like crazy, increasing the powers of the regulatory regime, funding the war in Israel on Gaza. I mean, it's just endless. He's made some serious missteps in terms of libertarianism, that's for sure.
Now, it is all over the news, the question of war. So when Americans look at what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Israel, the constant worry about Taiwan in regards to China, should Americans be as worried about China, Russia, and everything else in the world as much as, say, the corporate media pushes on us?
No, I think our biggest enemy and our most immediate enemy is actually our own state. It is doing more to us than anything else. It is robbing us to pay other countries to kill other people. It is devaluing our dollar through the Federal Reserve. It is increasing our likelihood of being robbed or murdered by virtue of its anarcho-capitalist policy in terms of policing. It is just unbelievable what this state is doing to endanger us. And I say that it is the biggest enemy, not China, not Russia, none of these boogeymen. There's nothing more inimical to our welfare than the federal government itself.
And, I'd like to talk about what the government has done to our money. And as you see it, ballooning the national debt, I believe debt service interest payments on the national debt is now more than is spent on the Pentagon, on defense at this point, which is absurd. But, I mean, how do Americans get the value of their money back? What's the potential path forward there?
The answer to that is to use decentralized, alternative, parallel currencies, and to establish networks that accept parallel currencies, alternate currencies, that do not get deflated by virtue of the Fed's endless production of money out of thin air, loaned at interest, which is just put your head on that very well. It's just unbelievable. So we need parallel currencies. We need to strike down the legal tender laws, allow parallel currencies. I'm not going to adjudicate which ones people should use. The usual suspects, of course, are gold leafs, some forms of silver, Bitcoin, Arrow, etc.
And I fully agree, though. I mean, does it worry you at all? Because I know you've written a lot about these sort of companies, to see I think BlackRock, Larry Fink was saying their ETF for Bitcoin is the fastest growing ETF in the history of ETFs. And part of me, you know, following Bitcoin now for a decade, I like seeing institutional money come on board, but also getting a little nervous seeing these big players I've learned not to trust jump into the space.
Yeah, that's very, very concerning. And they are trying to monopolize that market like they're trying to monopolize all markets. And that's, you know, what their ESG thing is all about. It's a monopoly scheme. And so they're monopolists, and likewise, their involvement in Bitcoin is very problematic because if they, you know, if they start exercising their voting rights, they might control it to a great extent. So that's why I don't limit things to Bitcoin. I don't think it's necessarily the only possibility. Some people are Bitcoin maximalists. As such, I'm not really. I actually like Monero better, but that's just a preference, I think. And there are other possibilities.
Now, I'm running out of time here, so I kind of want to give you a closing moment. But for a final statement, if folks want to follow you, want to follow your campaign, help support you, and get your message out, how can they do so?
They can go to my website, the campaign website, wrecktheregime.com. That's REC, theregime.com. Get behind the campaign. Put this message out in front of the American people. Let's get the message of liberty, maximum liberty, and decentralization. This thing, the federal behemoth that is the federal government. Let's put this message before people. I don't pretend that I have any chance of winning or any real good chance of winning. It's like about as good as the chance I would buy a lottery ticket here that I'd win the lottery tomorrow. But you would not be ill-advised to help me promote this message, because this is what needs to get into the discourse in order to shift the Overton window towards liberty.
Well, I appreciate the time today, sir. I actually saw you in, okay. Did we lose him?
Yeah.
The heck? Some reason line 2 came online. There are ghosts in the studio.
Yeah.
If Dr. Rechtenwald's folks are out there, I apologize. We were pretty much done there, but wanted to say my goodbyes. I actually saw him there in Birmingham for an 1819 event where he talked about his Great Reset book. I didn't, me being shy, I didn't go up and start talking to him a lot. But no, I appreciate him trying to get out the message, and I appreciate the very honest answer. My goal is not to win the presidency necessarily, but to get out and create a conversation that's a little different than the conversation that dominates the entire country between the two parties. And it's quite a time we live in, folks, where trust is, not there by any means. Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, because if you have this vacuum, anything can really fill it, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've seen that too.
Right. Seen it too often in history. So we'll see. But we should have Madeline Cannon of Alabama
in the
Home.
green room now.
Okay, well, let's hit this break, bring her in. Look forward to talking to Madeline. Y'all stay tuned.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi, I'm Paul Doe. Me and my wife Jessica own the Seafood Bistro over here in Perry Hill and Carmichael. We've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for going on 3 years now. It has been a great turnout. It's been a pleasure partnering with a local company like Blue Water. And if you have your own business, I suggest teaming up with a partner like Blue Water Broadcasting. It's a local company that helps local businesses.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by H&H Carpets, where you will find a complete line of Mohawk carpet with exceptionally clean, smart strand fiber. It's always available and ready to be installed. H&H Carpets, across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Hi, everybody. Big weather changes soon with a high-impact storm system that'll be affecting us. But today, not too bad, with a high temperature up to about 79, mostly cloudy, some widely scattered showers possible. Tonight's low down to about 61. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, widespread rain and thunderstorms, especially beginning in the afternoon, more likely in the evening and nighttime hours, and locally heavy rainfall totals. Also, a severe weather risk with all modes of severe weather possible. The high in the upper 70s on Wednesday, up to about 73 Thursday with maybe some leftover showers first half of the day. Then nice weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations since we began in 1906. At CB&S Bank, we're here for you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
In Alabama, more than 200,000 of our family members and friends are living without health coverage. Often folks can't stay healthy enough to keep their jobs. We need to fix this. It's time for us to find a way to close the health care coverage gap so that folks can remain in their jobs. Where there's a priority out there, we as Alabamians have always found a way to achieve it. Contact Governor Kay Ivey and let her know. Now is the time to close the coverage gap and cover Alabama.
Paid for by the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network.
The premier place the river region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. Eddie over there shaking his thing. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing good. Got Roxy in here with me, and she's acting very well.
Roxy the dog, and we have Madeline Cannon of Alabama Home Mortgage.
Hey, guys.
But allow me, I was just, before we talk about Alabama Home Mortgage, I need to talk about Dylan Rings, because I was just showing you some of this custom work Josh Ryder can do over there. Beautiful stuff, folks. If you go to their Facebook page, they're introducing their custom Smoke-a-Trine pendant. It's created by Josh, and it is absolutely gorgeous and unique.
Ooh, that's cool.
I think sometimes, you know, you've got beautiful things, but everybody's got them.
Sure.
If you have a beautiful thing that's truly unique to you, well, this was inspired by yesterday's eclipse. So if you know somebody who's kind of a science nerd, is really into that stuff, maybe a lady in your life, they're definitely out there. Go buy Dylan Rings and check this out. But again, you can check it out on their Facebook page. It captures the dance of light and shadow, is the way to put it. And this is just one example of what Josh Ryder can do there at Dylan Rings. The man's a true artist. So it could be, hey, you want to update a piece of jewelry you inherited, bring it up to modern standards, or it could be you want to combine two pieces of jewelry, or it could be you had a dream. And maybe it's something poignant to remember a loved one you lost, or maybe it's like, you know, dopes like me and Eddie that want funky fresh medallions to go out and have fun on the town. Josh Ryder can make it a reality. So check them out today. Just stop by their showroom there, 119 Brown Springs Road. That's 119 Brown Springs Road. Brand new revamped showroom that just looks absolutely beautiful. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie Ryder that Joey and Eddie and even Madeline on the radio sent you. So how's it going in your line of work? How's business going at Alabama Home Mortgage?
Well, things have certainly picked up with it being spring. We're starting to see a lot more movement. People getting pre-approved, looking to buy homes. Sellers, it's still a great time to put your house on the market. If you're considering that, inventory is relatively low. So we've got a lot of pre-approved buyers that are literally sitting in waiting for a home to come on the market that checks their boxes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So what's the strategy for somebody who's buying right now?
Well, first they need to get pre-approved before they even start.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what's happening is we're having a lot of people who are going and looking at houses, falling in love, and then they're having to kind of back into it and get pre-approved after the fact. And it may be that they've fallen in love with something they don't qualify for, which is the worst. Or on the flip side, you know, somebody who was pre-approved got to it faster and was able to submit an offer right there on the spot. So getting pre-approved will not only save you heartache, but it's also going to show the seller, hey, this buyer's already taken the steps to ensure that they're pre-approved and have got their financing in order.
Right, because that's the worst thing, where somebody doesn't have the financing in order and everybody's about to pull the trigger, close a deal, and oh, sorry, I skipped step one.
That's right. And it matters who pre-approves you.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So when you get a pre-approval letter from Alabama Home Mortgage, it's worth the paper it's written on. And I can't say that for everybody. You know, your output's only as good as your input, right?
Right.
And so you'll have somebody that will issue a pre-approval letter and maybe has not looked at income documents, hasn't pulled a true credit report.
Right.
And
It's like one of those free credit scores that doesn't actually hit your report.
and then you end up getting a pre-approval letter, you're under contract, everybody thinks it's great, only to find out once you get that contract and you go into underwriting that, oh wait, these people never qualified from the get-go. So it matters that you work with a local lender like Alabama Home Mortgage, not some 1-800 fill out a form online. Call somebody here locally that you can talk to anytime, 7 days a week.
And now maybe somebody's not in the buying market, but they're looking to refinance. Like they have a lot of equity built up in their home.
Yeah.
What sort of options do you have for them?
Yeah, so if you're looking to refinance, debt consolidation seems to be something that a lot of people are interested in right now. More people are carrying consumer debt than ever before. So we are able to take advantage of the equity that you have accrued in your home by doing a cash out refi. If you're a veteran, you can tap into 100% of your equity. Everybody else is going to be limited to 80%. But now more than ever, your home is valued higher than it's ever been before. So it's a great time if you've got some debt that you want to consolidate.
Yeah, and especially when I look at credit card APR, like just the average is almost 30%.
That's right.
Well, that's insane. So if you get stuck there, even just making minimum payments, like it's just growing on you.
That's right. If you're making minimum payments, by the time you get the statement the next month, the balance has gone nowhere.
Right.
I mean, you've not charged another dime, but that balance just keeps going up and up and up. And so if you want to wipe that slate clean, a refinance is a great way to do it.
And let's underline about veterans. Y'all really are hip to the latest with VA home loan programs. And this is with refi or buying.
That's right. We're certified veteran lending specialists. So we keep up with the VA guidelines. Whether you're looking to purchase or refinance, we can walk you through that process.
Now, what if somebody, back to the idea of pre-approval, it could be somebody's like, I just can't, I can't buy a home now, but they're renting, for instance, all the live long day. Is it worth just making a phone call to at least start the process with y'all to understand where they're at, even if y'all say you're not ready yet?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some people who think that they're kind of like, what is it when you go to the doctor? You have white coat syndrome. You're scared of the doctor. It's kind of the same way in the finance world. They're scared to talk about money. But oftentimes the people who have the most reservation are the ones that are the most ready to buy.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
So I would say if you're concerned, either we'll say, no, you shouldn't be. Everything looks good. Let's go buy a house. Or we'll say, you know what? Here are the steps we need to take to get you there. And either way, we can walk you through that.
Yeah, well, and that makes sense. If you're a risk-averse person, conservative in the financial sense, yeah, you might underestimate how good your finances are if that's your mentality. Well, and this is why, folks, you got to work with Alabama Home Mortgage, because you'll be working with Madeline, with Kim, and they actually get to know you over there.
That's right. We actually just closed a VA purchase last week for a veteran who this is their third home that they've purchased with us through Alabama Home Mortgage. Wow. So she was actually one of the first loans I ever did alongside Kim back in 2012. And here we are 12 years later, and she's still a client of ours, and we love that. We hope that to be the case for every client we work with.
Well, and I mean, that I can talk y'all up all day, and I'm happy to, because I believe in what y'all do, but somebody that's come back 3 times to do deals with y'all, that's a better testament I can ever put out there. So that's amazing.
Absolutely. We love the vote of confidence.
So wait, is the number still the same?
Still the same, 567-4223.
567-4223. And people can actually apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com.
That's right. That link's available 24/7, so you can apply on your time if you want to do it after hours, and then it comes right to us. We'll call you first thing in the morning.
And folks, you got to check them out today. There is a difference in mortgage companies. I'm going to say it subtle like that. There is a difference.
Now, if Kim's listening, there is. You got to do that. Emphasis on the is.
She likes the punch to it.
That's right.
You can do it all sorts of different ways. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. Got about 2 minutes at the top of the hour here, and I just haven't had time to take a breath to mention it with all the guests I've had today. I guess the chief of police here in Montgomery is on administrative leave for undisclosed reasons at the moment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Though both 1819 with Craig Monger, he threw up the interview we did with Renee Helton and his write-up of it, and the Montgomery Advertiser threw up their interview with Renee Helton in the context of this. Now, that has not been confirmed, that it happens to be her accusations against the chief. Maybe it's something else. But they're saying, it'll be all explained when the investigation's over, so to speak, once the city has looked into things.
So
very
clear then.
We'll wait and see. But, the worry I've had is with the city is leadership. And sometimes I worry, too, that people, whether you're talking the mayor, city council folks, or folks that are hired as career professionals in these very important gigs, that we're not communicating quite how we should be. And again, folks, I don't seek this stuff out. I'm not like the guys always down at the city council meetings trying to hear the latest, scuttlebutt around what's going on with our municipal government. But when stuff does get to me, it makes me start to think, okay, why are you talking to me? Why can't y'all talk to each other? Like, you're supposed to be the elected officials running this place. Mm-hmm. I'm just some jackass on the radio. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I want the police department to be doing well. I want us to not be at such low force levels.
Right.
I want people to want to move to Montgomery and enjoy life here and make the city even better. And right now, as much as some folks are trying, I'm not quite seeing it at this moment. I'll put it that way. But I think Dick Brubaker should be here in any moment. Madeline, it was great seeing you.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
You mind taking Roxy for a while?
What? What are you bothered by your own dog, man?
She's just making me nervous.
Why?
She looks very like she's ready to attack somebody.
Attack somebody?
Yeah.
And you want to send her with me?
You could cure a beast like her. You're so calm. Joey over here, all dressed in black, I think kind of makes her nervous.
Yeah, I can't win with you or the rest of the peanut gallery in the comments.
It doesn't matter what you wear.
This way, you can't grow a beard. When you wear white, you look like a marshmallow man. When you wear black and...
Consider the source.
Thank you, Madeline.
Yes.
You look beautiful today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like
Eddie, you look like you look.
Yeah, whatever.
You gonna get a haircut?
Just got one, man. Mr. Fluffy.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
But that's RN News. I'm Jason Walker. Some anxious moments today on Capitol Hill. Anti-Israel protesters briefly shut down a Senate cafeteria. They were eventually moved outdoors. No official word on any arrests or injuries. The parents of a Michigan school shooter have now been sentenced, each of them to at least 10 years in prison, for failing to take steps that could have prevented the killing of 4 students in 2021. Jennifer and James Crumley are the first parents convicted in a mass school shooting. Norfolk Southern has agreed to pay $600 million in a class action suit related to that fiery train derailment in Ohio. And Tesla has settled a suit brought by the family of a California man who died in a crash while relying on the company's semi-autonomous driving software. This is SRN News.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. The government will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000 with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may be entitled to a significant financial reward for your Camp Lejeune claim and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement with your VA benefits fully protected. But the deadline for filing is fast approaching, so you need to act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune, and with the deadline coming, you need to call now or you may forever lose your right to a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-774-9900. 800-774-9900. 800-774-9900.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where dump truck drivers are in demand. Wiley Sanders is on the grow. We need dump truck drivers now. Call 855-77-9785.
Rich Thomas Weather. Hi, everybody. Big weather changes soon with a high-impact storm system that'll be affecting us. But today, not too bad, with a high temperature up to about 79, mostly cloudy, some widely scattered showers possible. Tonight, slow down to about 61. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, widespread rain and thunderstorms, especially beginning in the afternoon, more likely in the evening and nighttime hours, and locally heavy rainfall totals. Also, a severe weather risk with all modes of severe weather possible. The high in the upper 70s on Wednesday, up to about 73 Thursday with maybe some leftover showers first half of the day. Then nice weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. Montgomery police are investigating a shooting that left a man dead Sunday night. 52-year-old Christopher Manuel was shot in the 4700 block of Mobile Highway late Sunday night. He was pronounced dead at the scene. No further information has been released. The Alabama House of Representatives has passed legislation that will give property owners and law enforcement better tools to deal with individuals who illegally occupy the homes of others. House Bill 182 increases penalties for squatters who attempt to take over a residence that does not belong to them. School districts across Alabama received federal funding during the pandemic, but the money is expected to run out later this year. According to State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey, the COVID funding the state received will run out by December. Superintendent Mackey assures there won't be any massive layoffs. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
I'm with Miss Dot at the Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall. Dot, spring is already here.
Oh, I'm so glad too. I'm tired of being cold. With spring, we're starting to bring out the wicker furniture. We are getting in the iron outdoor furniture and just a lot of things that's just going to brighten your day.
Now, if somebody needs some furniture for their home, you have a good selection, don't you?
If there's any furniture that you can't find anywhere else, come to Eastbrook because we have a wonderful selection of solid, good, heavy furniture at excellent prices. Actually better than you're going to find anywhere else. Just come see us and walk around all 3 floors and let's help you out to fill up those living rooms and dining rooms and bedrooms, but we've got it all.
Do you have any booth space available at this time?
I have booth space available, so come see us.
All right, give us those hours of operation.
Monday through Friday is 10 until 6. Saturday is 9 until 6, and Sunday 12:30 to 4:30.
Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall, 425 Coliseum Boulevard.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Like I was saying, folks, packed show today. And right across the desk from me, we have the one, the only Dick Brubaker. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. So, had a great week, had a great morning, and, life is good in Dixie.
Oh, amen. So where all have you been on this campaign now?
Well, last night I was in Mobile, talking to the auto dealers and just making the rounds and tried to finish up strong. The election's a week from today.
Oh, yeah.
So April 16th, go vote, everybody. Participate in your democracy.
Well, let's just be blunt. We're not expecting a huge turnout with these runoffs.
On Super Tuesday, the turnout was 22%. And the rule of thumb, for probate judges is in a runoff, especially a runoff with only one thing on the ballot, you might, if you're lucky, get half. So that would be 11%. But you've also got to throw in to the mix that 3 of the counties in the district will be on spring break on election day, including Mobile County, which is where a lot of the voters are. So if we get to 11%, that would be, I know it sounds horrible, but that would be on the high side of the estimate. So, wow. But it's important. The biggest threat to any democracy is non-participation.
Now, it feels like with this race, it's coming down to who can believably be the truest conservative in the race. And honestly, here in these airwaves, there are a lot of people who know you.
Right, sure.
Maybe know you better than I know you. And it's not exactly a tough case to make. But how are you making that case outside of, say, this listening area?
Well, for me, being a Christian is a way to live. It's not a political punchline. And so there's certain things I can't do. I have frustrated my campaign staff by refusing to run the negative ads they've ginned up on her. And I just told them, I'm going to keep my integrity intact, whatever happens. And one reason Republican turnout has been falling over the last couple of cycles is all this self-destructive negative campaigning. And I'm just not going to do it. Now, when I go and travel around, I tell people the truth about my record, in spite of her distortions of it. And, like the easiest one is, he's a Trump hater. Well, General Mike Flynn, Lee Greenwood, Seth Paxton, Veterans for Trump, the largest pro-Trump organization in the country, they all endorse me, not her, and which puts the Trump thing to bed. But it also brings up, what do you want from an elected official? The tweets she quotes when, right after he got elected, President Trump suggested a tariff. And let's face it, all of Alabama industry is second wave. In other words, transplants. Austral, Airbus, Mercedes, Hyundai. And this tariff would have just gutted them, especially Airbus. And the people from the Mobile Chamber and the Montgomery Chamber and Airbus came to the legislature and said, look, you guys are elected officials. You guys need to start talking about this because we need some help with the big man. And Trump, to his credit, he listened to what Republicans were telling him about how destructive this tariff would have been. And he made an exception for imported assemblies that go into domestically manufactured products. So it all ended happy. But the reason the president changed his mind is because people that were being negatively affected, spoke up. And I am a Trump supporter. I mean, I've given him money, voted for him every time he's run. But, even when your own party, if they're about to bring in some bad policy, it's your obligation to stand up on your hind legs and say something about it.
Right.
Not just sit quietly and say, well, I can't criticize someone because he's a Republican. I mean, come on.
Well, and I remember those arguments, especially in the sense that because of those inputs, Alabama was a net exporter.
Yes.
So we don't want to upset that. And I also remember I was at a Libertarian conference in Atlanta for FEE, Foundation for Economic Education. Everybody's talking about how bad the Trump tariffs are. Trump is at the G8 in Canada when we're having this conversation, and news breaks while I'm in the room with all these libertarians of Trump in the G8 meeting says, what if we have no barriers?
Yeah.
And everybody is shocked, and it made me go, the tariff is a threat. He would prefer fairness being, we're not blocking anybody.
Look, Trump is a businessman, and they did impose some tariffs.
Right.
But not the prohibitive protective tariffs. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be, there was a special tariff carved out for aircraft, and I wouldn't be surprised if some Boeing lobbyist got to somebody on his economic team and was behind that. I mean, it would have raised every Airbus aircraft, right when they're in the competition with Boeing, by $10 million per unit, per plane, which would have made Airbus non-competitive.
Yep.
And to a lesser extent, would have damaged Hyundai and Mercedes and all the other transplants. But it all ended happy. The president, as always, listened to people who wanted to see America prosper. And he got a lot of concessions from our trading partners that ended up helping the economy a lot. So it all ended happy. The other thing she's always hit me on is, if I was a tax and spend type of Republican, people in Montgomery wouldn't have kept reelecting me. I did vote. My rule as a state senator was that if, let's say the people in Crenshaw County wanted a local tax for their schools or for a new jail or whatever, if their county commission would give me a unanimous resolution, go on record, and their city council, whatever the affected city councils were, I would put it on the ballot. And let's face it, those sitting local councilmen and local county commissioners taking a lot bigger political risk than I was. And I didn't think it was a state senator's place to tell local communities they couldn't change their tax policies. And my only condition was that everybody be out front about what they were doing. And the other thing was there had to be a referendum. Even if it was a tax that constitutionally didn't require a referendum, if they wanted me to put it through the legislature, local people were going to get to vote on it. And that was always my policy. And frankly, I think it was the right one.
Now, at the federal level, I'd imagine you would agree to no new taxes.
Absolutely. Federal spending is too high, not too low.
Amen.
And if we really want to turn the economy around, and let's face it, the economy is slowing, especially on large ticket retail. If we want to see inflation come down and government revenues go up, the way to do it is to cut taxes like Kennedy did and like Reagan did. And, you'll have the biggest economic boom, just like it did the last two times. But we're talking about deep, across the board income tax cuts. And that frees up money and makes business people more willing to take risks, more willing to invest in their businesses. And that's what creates jobs and spins the economic wheel.
Well, and, I'm personally not much of a Keynesian or a monetarist at all, but they'll often argue, the multiplier effect when government throws money at a particular thing. But how much of a multiplier effect is there when we're spending, $870 billion, give or take, just to service the national debt? That seems like a huge waste.
Well, there's obviously no multiplier on debt payments. But the problem is you've got two things driving inflation. One is government spending, and we have got to rein that in. One place where my opponent and I differ, if you listen to the debate, is on, I think we ought to abolish the U.S. Department of Education and block grant that money back to the states. The U.S. Department of Education was founded under Carter, and ever since its founding, the condition of American public schools have worsened. It is a failed experiment. We spend $51 billion a year on it. And it's time to admit it's a failed experiment. And on top of that, all of this LGBT-friendly curricula and these, gender-bending library books they want to put in the hands of your third grader, that stuff's not being written in the states.
Right.
It's all coming out of Washington, and they force it into schools through their funding process. Yep. And we can solve that problem by getting rid of all those educrats, and spending that $51 billion, block grant it to local school boards based on student population. And you'll see a lot better educational outcome. And you're a libertarian. Constitutionally, the federal government is given no role in public education. It's always been a state function. And we need to get back to that.
Amen.
Let the states control what happens. And like in Alabama, we have a pretty good record of pushing authority to local systems. Those school boards are the closest to the parents, and that's where the decisions need to be made in local communities about what works for them.
Amen. Well, you're singing my tune, though. President Trump just made waves with his big announcement on IVF and abortion, the big video he put out. Do you agree with that idea that it should be left up to the states, the question of abortion policy?
Well, when Roe v. Wade, or Dobbs, or whatever you want to call it, was repealed, the left was running around lying to the American public like they always do. Oh, abortion's been outlawed. No, it hasn't. All that decision did was put it back where it should have been all along in state legislatures. And if there's one thing we don't need to do, it's to re-federalize that issue. We need to let state legislators handle that issue state by state. And in states that are pro-abortion, well, we need to go make our case and build support and start electing pro-life people in those states. The answer is not to bring it back into the federal domain where the federal courts will be able to decide what happens again. I mean, that's how we got into this mess in the first place, by federalizing what should have always been a state issue.
Now, were you, because, you've been there, you've seen how, especially the state Senate works, but both sides, both chambers, you surprised how quickly they came up with a so-called fix to the IVF issue?
Well, one thing about the legislature, they work best under pressure, and there was lots of pressure. And they took the shortest way home. The hospitals were saying, our issue is liability. So the state legislature took the shortest way home, gave them civil immunity, and now everybody's back in business. Now, those vexing questions of personhood are going to have to be addressed again at some point. Right. But I don't predict that the legislature is going to be in a big hurry to open that can of worms. So I think it may be a while before they have a special session or take those issues up.
Now, another thing that's come out, it's a Gallup poll, very bad news for EV cars in the industry. Apparently, Republicans have no interest in purchasing any EVs, and Democrats are also losing interest quickly.
Well, and when I just got out of the car business last year, but the factories try hard to shove these electric vehicles down your throat, and people just don't want them. I mean, in my business, I had 99 employees. 2/3 of them lived outside Montgomery County and were commuting to work. And the last thing in the world they were going to buy is if they went home and there was a storm and their power went out, they weren't going to miss the next day's work because they couldn't charge their car. I mean, the technology is just not there. And the federal government has no business telling people what to drive. I mean, This is America. I mean, come on, you can drive what you want. And the technology on EVs isn't there. Now, if someday it is there, people will buy them.
Right.
But right now, people are smart enough to realize that the technology is not there. It's not sufficient. And think about this. Suppose the feds managed to force EVs on enough people to where half of the people are driving EVs by 2035, like what they say they want. Imagine what a hurricane evacuation will look like when the interstates are blocked by EVs with dead batteries that can't be moved. I mean, you will never get people out of Mobile or Florida or wherever it is. Electric vehicles are just part of this entire green energy, enrich the elites program that Joe Biden's been on. And he tried to make EVs more attractive by artificially driving up the price of fossil fuels. But even with that, the public still isn't buying. In 2022, we track what we call repurchase intention, like people that buy a 1500 pickup of any brand. Well, the repurchase intention on a vehicle like that is about 80%. 4 out of 5 people, when they trade, will buy another similar vehicle. The repurchase intention on all EVs is less than 20, less than 1 in 5. So if you know 5 people who have an electric car now, only one of those intends to purchase another electric car.
All right.
So that says it all. And, this is just, in my campaign, I've talked about liberty, security, and limited government. This is where the limited government piece comes in. They are throwing away hundreds of millions of tax dollars on trying to enrich green energy elites. And it's not working. Everybody in the industry knows it's not working. And I think the federal government knows it's not working. But they're going to wait till after the election to throw in the towel because the Democrats want all that, that green energy money.
Right.
But the other thing is, if your people are supposed to buy electric cars because of carbon emissions, China burned more coal last year than any year in their history. Same for India. They're opening up one new electric coal burning power plant every month. So making American families pay 30% more for food because of artificially raised fuel prices isn't helping the planet.
Right.
I mean, if they open 3 coal-fired plants for every 1 we close, we're not doing any good. And I don't believe that. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not an environmental scientist. I'm an automobile dealer. But if the Chinese and India were really killing the planet, I don't think they still have most favored nation trade status with the United States, but they do. And so I think this is just one more government program where they want to pick winners and losers, and the green energy people tend to vote Democrat, so they're rewarding them.
And I can't think of a better or bigger champion for EVs in particular than Elon Musk. And even Musk, and he's not shy about taking government money either.
No.
But he said this whole push by the Biden administration is a joke. And it really did look like, all of Elon's competitors who couldn't be as effective as him are now going to get a lot of these benefits with the infrastructure build outs. I think Montgomery just got a grant. on the west side have installed charging stations, which I just shake my head at.
Right.
So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
It just shows the federal government out of their lane again. The federal government didn't go around building gas stations.
They didn't have to.
When the demand is there, people, if people will build it and the customers will come. But in this case, if you've ever gone to one of my in-laws had drove up to North Carolina recently and was talking about at a Charlotte area rest area, there are all of these, charging stations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, half of them weren't working, had out of order signs on them. And the other half were taken. And so if you're on your way north and you stop in at one of those places, instead of taking 10 minutes to fill up your car with gas, at a minimum, you're going to be there an hour.
Yep.
And that's why the American public doesn't want this thing.
Right.
But we're spending, billions of dollars on it, even though it's a technology that's just not ready for prime time.
Well, I got to hit a break here, but more especially, jumping off the cost of energy, the cost of living in general. We'll get into that, the economy, as well as foreign policy, big in the headlines right now. First, though, folks, as part of the program, brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing. And they're at Cole Plumbing. James and the team have this proprietary pipelining technology that allows them with minimal discomfort to you and your home to get in there and solve the problem. That could mean a big leak that you just notice, and then you're like, we have to tear out a bunch of drywall? Nope, not with Cole Plumbing. They're not going to have to dig up a huge hole in your yard either to find that leak. Again, with precision expertise, they can find the problem and solve it for you. They can also help you with everyday plumbing issues like a clogged drain, low water pressure, maybe even tree root invasion. Could be you have a gas line leak, or God forbid you have a basement with a sump pump that isn't actually working. Or maybe you just want to upgrade to a tankless water heater system, or get all fancy, install a bidet or something in your bathroom, which I hear is very nice. Cole Plumbing can help you with that. So call them today. Make an appointment, 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl,
call them Cole, Joey.
That's right, Eddie. Hey, we got to hit this break. More with Dick Brubaker when we come back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Selling a home in the river region in this market takes some planning and preparation to be successful. Here are some steps to take to get your home sold fast. Remember the 5 P's. Prepare the home, fresh coat of paint inside and out, and complete any repairs needed. Professionally clean the home. A deep cleaning of floors, cabinets, windows, and blinds will leave a great impression for future buyers. Provide a home warranty for the buyer to give the buyer peace of mind after the closing. Provide a closing cost allowance for the buyer to help them be able to afford your home. Price your home to sell, not sit. A comparative market analysis from a local realtor will demonstrate what other properties have sold for in your neighborhood. Well-priced homes sell faster with less hassle. Houses are selling fast and sellers are getting top dollar. For all the answers, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883 or 551-0225.
Have you ever noticed how many car dealers start their commercials with, "It's the best sale of the year. Push, pull, or drag your old vehicle in. No offer will be refused." At Larry Puckett Chevrolet, they don't make outrageous claims and have all of that fast talk at the end of their commercials. They just offer great deals month in and month out. New cars and trucks are arriving daily. Plus, Larry Puckett has a great selection of pre-owned cars and trucks, all makes and models. If you're getting a refund from Uncle Sam, it could be your down payment. If you have an extra vehicle that you want to sell, bring it in for an instant cash offer. They're paying top dollar to keep their lot full. Remember, LP just doesn't stand for Larry Puckett. It stands for lowest prices in the river region. Come to the dealer that lets the customers do the talking. Larry Puckett Chevrolet on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville. Or look them up online at larrypuckett.com.
This is former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Glenn Murdoch. Alabama is a great place to live and work and raise our families because Alabamians are a good people of faith and traditional values. But a huge gambling bill in Montgomery would change our culture forever. Neon light casinos bringing more crime to our big cities and small towns. highly addictive cell phone betting, and the state selling the lie of lottery riches to the poor and most vulnerable. With all that's wrong in the world, this is no time to give up on our traditional values in Alabama. Call and ask your senator to be the leader you elected them to be, to stand strong and vote no on gambling, and keep the Alabama we know and love. Thank you.
Call your senator at 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800, 334-261-0800. Paid for by Alabama Eagle Forum, Box 130757, Birmingham.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Mow like a pro with Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers. They engineer their mowers to be maintenance and service-friendly for the everyday homeowner while not sacrificing the build and cut quality they're known for. From the heavy-duty frame to the welded steel duct to their trademark smooth track steering, Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers deliver professional-grade cut quality for a perfectly manicured lawn. Why don't you stop by and see Deatsville Ace Hardware? See the Hustler difference for yourself today. Deatsville Ace Hardware on US 31 just north of Prattville, or Google Deatsville Ace Hardware for more information.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. Still here in the studio, right across the desk, we have Dick Brubaker. He's a candidate running for Congress. So, and just to remind folks, this runoff is next Tuesday, a week from today.
Yes, go vote.
And this is at normal polling places like you did there on
Just
Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday, same deal.
So get out there and vote because your vote, especially in one of these runoffs, can make a difference.
Absolutely.
We often joke on the show, Eddie, who's going to win the presidential race in Alabama?
That would be Donald Trump.
You sure?
100%.
Right, okay. But, yeah, on these very local races, you really can make a difference, folks. Don't kid yourself. Now, where we left off, let's talk about the economy more, but especially something like energy prices, because it's not just about saving $1 for the average American, which I think we all want. It's also a national security issue, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. You know, when Biden took office, not many people realize this, the culmination of 30 years of Democrat presidents and Republican presidents pursuing energy independence. After the Arab oil embargo and the Gulf War, people were re-energized. We don't need to have our foreign policy driven by Arab oil sold by people that hate us. And so Republicans and Democrats both work toward energy independence. Well, the last quarter of the Trump administration, we finally got there. The United States became a net energy exporter. And after Biden got in office, that lasted about 10 minutes. And, you know, he killed the Keystone Pipeline. He's been not renewing federal natural gas leases. He's put all sorts of new ridiculous environmental roadblocks in the way of fracking. And he's done everything possible to constrict our domestic energy supply. And not only that, he's drawn down the strategic fuel reserves to the lowest level in 25 years.
Right.
And you know, for what? To make us less secure, make food more expensive, Americans less secure. And, you know, because our infrastructure was not built with the idea that an American president would let thousands of known terrorists into the United States illegally through the southern border, our infrastructure is largely soft targets.
Right.
With the exception of nuclear plants, all of the rest of our infrastructure, both energy producing infrastructure, refineries, power substations, are unguarded. I mean, a chain link fence isn't going to keep a terrorist out.
Right.
And this stuff will be quick to destroy and slow to rebuild. So yes, being a net importer again, not only that, we are back to dependence again on foreign energy. And the fact that our internal energy infrastructure is so much less secure than it was before Sleepy Joe took office. We are, I'm just amazed that something hasn't happened yet.
Right.
But it will happen. It's just a matter of when.
Now, with the border, like the Democrats tried with a straight face to say, oh, look, we tried to solve the problem with this bipartisan bill. I think if James Langford didn't intend it, James Langford got taken for a ride. I'll put it that way. Somebody screwed that guy over. Pardon me. But there's an old Ayn Rand line I keep repeating myself these days, that mistakes of this magnitude are not made innocently.
Right.
Says that there's not even mistakes. So what the heck, what are they doing with the border? Why are they letting this many people in?
Well, I think that the Democrats want to replace the middle class voters. I mean, let's face it, the middle class, they don't like us. We get in their way. I mean, we don't support socialism. The middle class is a group of people, and I mean black and white middle class people. If the government schools aren't any good, we'll build our own schools. If the communities we live in become unsafe, we'll build our own towns. I mean, we'll do whatever we have to. And the Democrats can't stand that. The middle class are those people who don't want their lives controlled by the government. And Biden thinks that we're in the way, and this is how he gets rid of us over time. And, when it comes to the border, you can't just throw tropes out there, red meat tropes to, gin up support for bad policy from the right. I mean, we can secure the border. I don't care if it takes every National Guardsman in the country. We can put enough people on the border to look at every person. I don't care if we have to have a soldier every 6 feet. But what my opponent has said repeatedly is that she doesn't want to secure the border. She wants to close it. Now, we export more across the southern border to Mexico than we do to the EU. $2 billion a day in U.S. trade goes across the southern border. That's over $1 million a minute, if my math is right. We don't have to close the border. We have to secure the border. Legitimate trade should be allowed to cross in both directions while we put however many Border Patrol agents, soldiers, you name it. And the thing is, the key piece of all this is to not only finish the wall, but the minute people are apprehended, they go to a prison until we can repatriate them to whatever country they hold citizenship with. And unfortunately, more and more often, that country is China. And the Chinese are great at what do they call it? Their word for asymmetrical warfare.
Oh, there you go.
Asymmetrical warfare. And this is part of it. And these people don't need to be in our country. If they're here illegally, back to China or Singapore or Vietnam or wherever. But you can't just let them stay here. And I think a lot of even conservatives have sort of thrown up their hands as the problem's too big. There's no way to deport all these people. Well, look at your history books. Dwight Eisenhower deported 1.5 million people in less than 2 years. If we have the will to do it, we can do it. But I think step one should be the minute you grab these people at the border, back they go.
Now, when we look at American foreign policy and what's happening now, there is always the conversation around Taiwan, which is a big one. But the hot wars that we're either directly or indirectly in with Ukraine, and also now what's going on in the Middle East, especially now with the threat of Iran striking back after Israeli strikes, I would say, more than, say, somebody like me or even Eddie, like, the stakes are higher because of what your son does, right?
Yeah, my son is an active duty member of the 75th Ranger Regiment. He was in Kabul when it all collapsed.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he has had a very interesting career in the military. He's been combat deployed a lot. And so, yes, since he'll be one of the very first people to go, if Biden blunders us into one of the 3 wars he seems to be considering, he hadn't picked one yet. But everything that's happening in Gaza right now has been caused by what happened in Kabul. That failure of U.S. nerve and leadership and the abandonment of our allies has emboldened terrorists all over the world. And the sad part is our president has no moral compass at all. Israel is entitled to they were the ones attacked. They didn't make this happen. Hamas made it happen.
Yep.
And I'm sorry for civilians in Gaza. But, during World War II, the German people elected Hitler. They supported Hitler. They supported him with their votes and their money and their taxes, and a refusal to force the German government to show any restraint. And so when the war came, they suffered. They suffered badly. And the people in Gaza have supported the terrorists. They're the ones that go into the streets and cheer every time an Israeli civilian is murdered. And they let these terrorists store arms in their hospitals, dig tunnels under their cities. And so guess what? It's a great big dirt burger, and they're all going to get a bite. And the Israelis have a moral obligation to restrain themselves as much as is consistent with victory, but no more. And Biden shows his lack of a moral compass. And we just gave $100 million to Gaza, which is the same way as saying we gave it to the people who support Hamas. And he's trying to make both sides good. Well, in this case, the only people in the right are the Israelis. The people in Hamas and their fellow travelers in Gaza are 100% to blame for this. The Hamas crossed the Israeli border with no intention, no military objective at all, except to kill as many Israeli civilians as they could kill. And now it's payback time. And the president of the United States is trying to pressure Israel into a situation that will allow Hamas to survive and do this again.
Right.
And I don't blame the Israelis at all for saying no.
Now, it's in the Congress this week, big question happening. Should $60 billion more go to support Ukraine? What would you say about that?
Well, the short answer is no. But the longer answer, which is necessary here, is this. We need to have a very serious talk with our NATO allies. The reason we're supposedly there is to protect our European allies. And if that's the reason, why is the United States carrying by far the heaviest share of the burden in Ukraine? I mean, we don't share a border with Ukraine.
Right.
Our NATO allies do. And with the exception of Poland, none of our allies, and Britain and the UK, none of our allies are even spending the mandatory 2% of GDP on defense that they agreed to when they joined NATO. So if our allies just say, we're only willing to oppose Russian aggression if, we'll fight the Russians to the last American. If that's the way they feel about it, it's time for us to start looking for the exit door. Now, if they're willing to bear their share of the cost, I think you can build a case that we should stay in. But we need to stay in with some sort of no more cash. Like even when we give the Israelis military aid, the vast majority of it's in trade credits.
Right.
So they can go to American companies like Raytheon and buy missiles. So the money is actually being spent with the U.S. defense industry. And I think that's the model we need to use with Ukraine. It's not the American taxpayer's job to pay all of their government employees. And it's certainly not our job to continue to transfer cash when they've proven that a good bit of that cash just goes missing. So it's time for a very serious talk with our allies, and we need to tailor our foreign policy to how far our NATO allies are willing to go to defend themselves. Like one reason the German economy is by far the biggest in Europe is because we are carrying almost their entire defense load. The last time I looked, the German army had less than 300 fully operational tanks.
Right.
Well, and their view is, why should we maintain heavy maneuver divisions when the Americans are kind enough to have the 2nd Armored over here all the time?
Well, and maybe it's the idea that everybody kind of understands that, what the original idea with NATO is keep Germany down, Russia out, and the United States in.
Right.
And the free riding thus comes out, well, y'all are keeping Germany down, Russia out, so why? It's not a true alliance, but I think it's now so many decades later,
Right.
we need to reevaluate
Well,
this.
the situation has changed.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, if there's one U.S. aid package that has been proven to be a success, it was the Marshall Plan. But, now our European allies economically are our competitors. And I don't think we need to forever, while we need to maintain a strong NATO, and because let's face it, Putin has said repeatedly that his goal is to reestablish all the old Soviet spheres of influence. And that would be bad. We don't need to let that happen.
Well,
but that also means that the people we're supposedly defending need to bear their share of the burden. And Germany is a rich country. They're not Estonia. I mean, they can't poor mouth and say, we just don't have the GDP to make a significant contribution to defense. Well, Germany does, and so does the UK. Now, the British are doing their part, but the rest of our NATO allies are spending about 1% of their half of their NATO commitment on defense, and they should take that money and either give it to the Ukrainians and let them fight Russians with it, but the idea that the United States, the American taxpayer, is going to carry this load mostly alone forever is a non-starter. And I think Congress is getting weary of this. And if we can't get a firm commitment from our NATO allies going forward, like I say, it's time to start easing out.
Well, pretty much out of time here. If folks want to support your campaign with the runoff coming up just a week from today, how can they do so?
Go to BrewbakerForCongress.com and you can find all the information you need. And look, I'm going to get through this election with my integrity intact. Remember who in this race has proven that they're willing to lie to get what they want and who isn't. So I've always kept my word. Vote Dick Brubaker.
Well, appreciate your time as always, sir. We'll be right back, folks.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now. 800-565-1688. That's 800-565-1688. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-565-1688 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the river region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. The Johnny Adams Law Firm, proud sponsor of the Rich Thomas Weather Network. You can't control the weather, but you can control your drive. Be aware of your surroundings in any weather. Be a defensive driver. Your family and friends will thank you. From the Johnny Adams Law Firm.
Hi, everybody. Big weather changes soon with a high impact storm system that'll be affecting us. But today, not too bad with a high temperature up to about 79, mostly cloudy, some widely scattered showers possible. Tonight, slow down to about 61. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, widespread rain and thunderstorms, especially beginning in the afternoon, more likely in the evening and nighttime hours, and locally heavy rainfall totals. Also, a severe weather risk with all modes of severe weather possible. The high in the upper 70s on Wednesday, up to about 73 Thursday with maybe some leftover showers first half of the day. Then nice weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. The Z700 series is the star of Kubota's line of zero-turn mowers, and our special spring pricing makes it easier than ever to take one home today. Powering Alabama, Kubota and Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
The Tierce family has been your local Roto-Rooter service since 1964. Drain cleaning, plumbing repair, and those troublesome septic tanks, no problem. Technology has changed a bit in the last 54 years. Video inspections of lines to locate problems is available, as well as scheduling your appointment online. River Region residents have trusted Roto-Rooter for over half a century. You can too. Call today at 272-7130 or visit online at rotorooteralabama.com.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name, and lethal troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon, or as we call it online, Joey Clark Live. I'm your host, Joey, and before we bring our guest in, I have to do some business because this part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group, and there at the Goodson Group bonus team have been helping buyers and sellers in the River Region real estate market for over 4 decades, going on nearly 5. And at the Goodson Group, not only can they help you with buying or selling your property, they also have management services. It's a great idea in this market to invest in a rental, but you probably want a professional like the Goodson Group managing it for you. And the crown jewel there is the Bo Goodson Real Estate School. It's one of the most highly acclaimed here in the great state of Alabama because of Bo's experience. It's a very interactive course. Bo's been through it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he's ready to teach you so you can hit the ground running, finding success, whether as a more knowledgeable private player or a fully licensed realtor. So check him out today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give him a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. Great sponsor here of News and Views in the Afternoon. Now, we have a very special guest here today. She is the Consul General of Israel for the Southeastern United States, Anat Sultan Dadan. Anat, great to see you today. How are you doing?
Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, tough days, as we were saying off air.
Very tough days, but I think that it is heartwarming to be reminded today that there is incredible support for Israel here in the great state of Alabama. The governor just signed a beautiful resolution supporting Israel at this time, a resolution that was passed with overwhelming bipartisan support at the Alabama's state legislature. And we greatly appreciate Alabama's support of Israel at this time.
Well, and just for folks to get to know you a little bit, you were appointed to this position in 2019?
That's right. I've been in my position covering the Southeast from Atlanta, covering the Southeastern region, 7 states in the Southeast since July of 2019. And I think that it is an incredible privilege not only to be posted to the United States, by far Israel's most important ally in the world, but an incredible privilege to be here in the Southeastern United States, where we have so many friends and supporters, just like what the state of Alabama declared today.
Well, are you happy you're here in the Southeast compared to, say, like Michigan or something like that?
Well, I can't speak for my colleagues elsewhere. I will say that I'm certainly happy to be here in the Southeast, where we have so many friends and supporters.
Well, so let's get into what's happening, because I try to keep it light. We're doing all right, but it's pretty awful what's happening there. And so let's get the latest. What's happening with the war in Gaza?
So we are now 6 months into the war that started on October 7th with the murderous terror attack carried out by Hamas against Israel, in which they not only massacred 1,200 Israelis in their homes at a music festival, but they also took over 250 hostages, brutally dragging them into captivity. And we still have today 133 hostages remaining in captivity in Gaza. And so alongside the fighting that the Israel Defense Force is engaged in since October 7th in order to ensure that we never see such a terror threat emanating from the Gaza Strip ever again, we also must continue to work to ensure that all 133 hostages return home.
And how many have we confirmed dead that we've lost so far?
Of the 133, 36 have been confirmed to be bodies. We hope that they can be brought to rest, to burial, to rest in Israel. And of course, that all of the remaining hostages who are still alive remain alive and be able to return to their loved ones.
Now, in American press and our corporate media especially, you often see in the Democrats, say at the highest level in our country, keeps suggesting there's say daylight between Netanyahu, say the rest of the war cabinet. Is there any truth to that? Because that's not my sense of it.
Israelis have many disagreements over almost anything. But if there is one thing that we are united about, it is the fact that we need to ensure that October 7th never happen again, that we never see such images again, that we are able on our southern border, on our northern border, that we are able to know that our children go to bed at night without fearing that a terrorist will infiltrate and murder them in their beds. That is something that all of Israel is united in, and that is why we need to ensure that Hamas and any other terror elements in the Gaza Strip no longer have the capabilities to attack Israel, because their leadership states clearly that they will commit October 7th again and again and again. We need to ensure that they never be able to do so.
Now, I wonder if there was discussion about how much wider could this war get, in the sense that Hezbollah there to the north, and now since the strike against the head of the Quds force, or it was several leaders there for them in Damascus, the feeling of Iran retaliating in some way. So does this war stay just in Gaza, or do you think it expand?
We did not want this war in Gaza. We did not choose this war in Gaza. We hope that we do not have a war on our northern border. But the sad reality is that Hamas would not have been able to carry out the attack that it carried out on October 7th without the funding, trading, guidance, and support that it receives from Iran. Iran is training, funding, equipping, and guiding terror elements in the region, be it Hamas, be it Hezbollah in Lebanon, be it the Houthis in Yemen, terror militias in Iraq, in Syria. These all pose a threat, not just to Israel. They pose a threat to all of us, to the entire free world. And I think that that is what many people do not realize, that this is not just Israel's fight.
Right.
We are fighting a radical Islamist ideology that is a threat to everything that we all believe in, the values of life and freedom, because what they do is glorify death, and they seek a new Islamist world order, which of course stands in contradiction to everything that we stand for, that we believe in. And Iran, which is the driving force behind all of this, Iran needs to be addressed. And again, not just a concern for Israel. We do hope, and we believe that the United States has taken a very, very clear stand also in its messaging that the United States does not want to see a war on our northern border. We do hope that we can avoid that. But our first priority is to the safety and security of our country and citizens, and that is what we need to ensure on our southern border, but also on our northern border, because Hezbollah has been attacking from our northern border as well.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left here. It's so good. I guess in a way we could end where we began, with the support and what the governor just put out today here in the great state of Alabama. But you're seeing it in the context of whether you look at the UN or say just images you see now on Twitter, and it's awful, the amount of hatred and a lot of the world turning against Israel. So how much does it mean to have supporters here, especially in this part of the country, especially juxtaposed next to what we're seeing around the world?
It means everything. I think that here in the United States, we are fortunate. We are fortunate to have the support of the United States. We know that our relations have always been and will remain strong. But it is very disturbing to see what we believe is a minority, but a very loud minority that is preaching hate, that is promoting lies and anti-Israel and anti-Semitic rhetoric and tropes. We need to see the sane voices, the voice of reason. We need to hear more of them. We need for them to be loud. And we think that this example of Alabama can lead the way for others as well. We hope to see more taking a clear, loud, vocal stand on the right side of history. Because the other side, if you're not standing with us, the alternative is that you're supporting terror, that you're supporting murder, that you're supporting rape, which is what they stand for.
Well, I really do appreciate your time today, the limited time we've had, because I'll just, in full candor, I'm in my own little world, and you see stuff in the news, and it's just news, even when it is that awful. But to just hear the tone of your voice, to talk to you today, it's a reminder of the awful reality now in the world. And I appreciate you joining us today and, locking arms with the people here in Alabama.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. More news and views after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With that summary of news, I'm Jason Walker. The Arizona Supreme Court says the state can enforce its long-dormant law criminalizing all abortions except when a mother's life is at stake. Now, this ruling examined whether the state is still subject to a law that actually predates Arizona's statehood. The 1864 law provides no exceptions for rape or incest. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Washington for his state visit. It will include an official state dinner and comes amid growing concerns about provocative Chinese military action. Things got a little wild on Capitol Hill earlier today. Anti-Israel protesters were able to briefly shut down a Senate cafeteria. Officers removed the demonstrators. No word of any injuries or arrest. This is SRN News.
Biden has started tracking Christians like cattle. Yes, you heard it right. He pressured banks to tag transactions for certain keywords. One of them is Holy Bible. It's a horrifying and creepy attack on our religious freedoms. It's made possible by a digital financial system that makes you a sitting duck. But you do have other options. I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst, a best-selling author, and evangelical leader to people who cherish their financial independence. A precious metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Biden's anti-Christian bureaucracy while also preserving your retirement savings. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text faith to 989898. There are no strings attached. So text faith to the number 989898 right now and take action to protect your own prosperity.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where dump truck drivers are in demand. Wiley Sanders is on the grow. We need dump truck drivers now. Call 855-77-9785.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. Big weather changes soon with a high-impact storm system that'll be affecting us. But today, not too bad, with a high temperature up to about 79, mostly cloudy, some widely scattered showers possible. Tonight's low down to about 61. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, widespread rain and thunderstorms, especially beginning in the afternoon, more likely in the evening and nighttime hours, and locally heavy rainfall totals. Also, a severe weather risk with all modes of severe weather possible. The high in the upper 70s on Wednesday, up to about 73 Thursday with maybe some leftover showers first half of the day. Then nice weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
At CB&S Bank, we've been meeting the needs of our customers since 1906. Need help setting up new business goals? Our line of commercial loans can help you achieve them. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
1819 News.
The Watauga-Prattville Public Library says that they have removed a sexually explicit book from the shelves that was made available within the teens section. A student on a field trip from school found that book and was severely disturbed by what he found inside. The student's parents then notified the library staff. The graphic novel involved an illustrated lesbian encounter between an escort and a client. The APPL staff says the book has been removed since it violates library policy. The Watauga-Prattville Library has been at the center of ongoing controversy throughout the state over the types of sexually explicit books placed within public libraries that are funded by taxpayer money. Many of the taxpayers are parents who want the books to be removed to a special section that involves parental consent and oversight. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Shaver with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
A Henry County father has entered a not guilty plea when it comes to endangerment of his 4-year-old son, Phoenix Wilkerson. Joshua Wilkerson and the boy's mother, Cheyenne Ray, were arrested at the same time and charged with chemical endangerment of their child after the boy went missing in freezing January temperatures in Barber County. The boy was found 2 days later and had to be hospitalized. He has since recovered. Prosecutors say that Wilkerson and Ray were both using marijuana and meth, which affected the boy and caused him to leave the home. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Eddie Bader's still in the studio. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing well. How you doing, bud?
Just busy.
Yeah? See that?
Yeah, we're very busy. We're waiting. Caroline Dobson, I believe. I thought she would be here in person, but we have to see her. Actually, let's see. This is on line one. Okay. You're on there. Who's this?
It's Simpler Days.
Hey,
Simpler Days. How you doing?
Hanging in there like a tick on a dog's honey, but other than that. Hey, did you happen to see the article that Channel 12, the in-depth piece they just recently did on the chief being placed on administrative leave?
The WSFA, when was it released?
I think it was yesterday.
Well, I saw the news that he's been put on administrative leave. I've not seen a reason for it yet, officially from the city.
Well, they go on to talk about kind of hinting around certain things. But anyway, then they said that they talked to their sister station in New Orleans about an incident down there when he was head of the crime lab around sexual harassment and such, but it was unfounded. But then in the next paragraph, they say, but there's been no similar incidents here. Didn't y'all interview the complainant / victim and attorney on your station?
Yeah, we did. I give credit to, I think Kevin Elkins went
did.
first, and then I think the Montgomery Advertiser did a follow-up
They
interview.
had an advertising article.
And then didn't 1819 News do a piece on it?
Yep, absolutely. Craig Monger did, yes.
So evidently, they must be in a bubble, or either they've been bought and sold their integrity to the city. Because, I mean, that's just a bold-faced lie to say that. But
consider the source.
Anyway, you know, this should have been addressed last October when it was brought to the city's light, especially the city council, especially Chip Hill. And that's when they should have placed him on administrative leave and said, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. And if it's unfounded, we'll, you know, but he stepped in it, and now the stink's on the shoe, and they've tracked it all the way now into April. And, you know, the only way they're going to dig their way out, and they're probably trying to come up with a plan right now, they got him on administrative leave, how they can ease him out the back door and still keep their britches.
And I'm reading what WSFA put out. Let me share it with the audience, Simpler Days. However, there was a shakeup in Albert's previous city that involved him. In 2018, he faced complaints while working for the New Orleans Police Department. According to our sister station, WVUE, the WAVU, the station reports that he faced an internal review over allegations of violating the department's policy on sexual harassment, discrimination, and retaliation while overseeing the crime lab. The investigation's results were never disclosed by the department. It is unclear if he faces any similar complaints in Montgomery. So wait, what they're saying is the investigation's results in New Orleans were never disclosed. And yes, it is clear that accusations have been made of a comparable type here in Montgomery. So I don't know where SFA is getting that from. Maybe you're right, Simpler Days.
Well, I think what that classic identifier is fake news.
Yep.
And that's why people just don't have any faith or integrity in the news anymore, because of, you know, clearly they had to have heard or been aware of the other media covering the story. But anyway, I think it's not going to end well, because unless they can buy her off, unless they can write a check or give her job back, then the EEOC complaint is going to go forward, and there's going to be civil depositions, and all the dirty laundry is going to come out. And now Montgomery sits without a police chief, steadily losing officers, lost 11 last month. And, you know, just in my opinion, the best course of action for this would be the city and the county come together, get someone to write a piece of legislation, you know, to go and get Montgomery under a metro public safety, where Sheriff Cunningham would take over the police department under a metro form of government. He's well aware of the inner workings. He rose through the ranks down there. He has the experience and the expertise. And oh, by the way, the police that are leaving Montgomery PD want to go over there and work for him, because he's not a puppet of the mayor. He's his own man, and that's the bottom line. Y'all have a good day.
Well, hold on real quick before you go.
Okay.
What do you think of this idea of getting rid of the city-county personnel board?
Well, that concerns me, because just like the mayor wanted to get rid of the airport authority board, you know, power is intoxicating, And when you get too much power, sometimes bad things can happen.
Indeed. Well, I appreciate your call and your insights as always, sir. Thanks, man. Later. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And isn't Ashley just fantastic?
Oh, I love her to death. You know that.
Oh, she's great. So there at Pest Pro, Ashley's put together this amazing team. Their business, you've seen it, has grown leaps and bounds in the last 3-4 years.
Yep.
There are a lot of folks that got ate up during the pandemic. They grew. They expanded. And it's because of the service they provide and that they're great local folks, always giving back to the community. And by how good they are with their services, they show up on time. They understand the problems. They have somebody on staff for each unique problem. So there might be a termite specialist or the mosquito person, or if you do have a huge wasp or cockroach problem, maybe you need somebody who's a little flexible to get into that crawl space under the house.
Also, Joey, as you noticed, they have a new service available. So say if you got those wasp nests that are hard to reach.
Oh, yes.
They have those lifts available that can come out and get those rid of. So you're not up on a ladder. I'm not up on a ladder.
Right.
We don't need to be
and
up
don't
on
try
ladders.
the TikTok trend of I put a cup of gasoline up on there, and it's a good way to get stung.
You ain't kidding. If
and
you
get
do
gas
that,
all
call
over
me.
yourself.
That's going to make a good video.
So let the pros handle it,
Certainly.
folks. And especially right now with termites and mosquitoes. 'Tis the season for them.
Yeah, man.
You just experienced
Yep,
the
still
beauty of their mosquito
I
treatment.
still have good reports. I have no issues with mosquitoes up there at all.
And you might as well do the preventative work to make sure you don't have termites, or just get the home treated ahead of time before you ever get termite damage. The repairs on that damage is much more expensive than any termite treatment.
Always.
So check out Pest Pro today. You might as well make them your everyday pest control company.
for me.
Join the crowd. I don't often say that, but when it comes to Pest Pro, you need to join the crowd. This great growing business at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell them that, Joey and Eddie, those fellows on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Have you ever considered turning your home into a rental and build wealth at the same time? People throughout the river region are doing that right now. By investing wisely in the right property or turning your current home into a rental is the secret. Hiring a property manager to professionally manage your property is the way to prosperity. Our company does all of the advertising, personally showing prospective tenants, does a thorough background check and credit report before moving forward. Over 15 critical services are provided to our clients in protecting the asset, but also providing the best residence in your home possible. Collecting rent on time and frequent inspections help landlords feel better about renting their house, and to provide clean, well-kept homes that anybody would be proud to call home. For a complete list of property management services, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage.
And I'm Madeline Cannon. It's true, rates aren't as low as they have been for the past couple of years, but there are still many homeowners that could benefit from refinancing their current mortgage. There are a lot of things in life that are out of our control, but your mortgage rate is not one of them. If you currently have an adjustable rate mortgage, then you owe it to yourself to give us a call.
Adjustable rate mortgages make sense for some people in stable markets, but in this wild, ever-changing rate environment, it only makes sense to secure a fixed interest rate. A fixed interest rate will give you the peace of mind that your rate is locked. Your rate will not be subject to change with the political and economic tides.
At Alabama Home Mortgage, you can personalize your term. We offer 8-year to 30-year mortgages and everything in between. Grab your mortgage statement and give us a call.
Call Alabama Home Mortgage, the #1 mortgage lender in Alabama, today at 567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's Alabama Home Mortgage, because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36A, Equal Housing Lender.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier.
Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Before we keep going here, this part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And of course, Dillon Rings is a full-service jewelry shop. Folks, if you don't know, all the other jewelers in town go to Josh Ryder to help with repairs. The man is that good. He's a bit of a mix of a mad scientist and a true artist when you go back to his lab there at 119 Brown Springs Road. So if you are looking for custom design, it could be you've dreamed it. He's literally made something that came out of inspired by a dream. And it could be something poignant, remembering a loved one, or maybe if you're like Eddie or I and just stupid, he never like man children. We want funky fresh medallions. We're gonna get matching ones, right?
Yes, that's the plan.
And I think that's a good plan. And of course, they have an amazing jewelry selection there, from high-end pieces to that everyday jewelry that still looks great but doesn't break the bank or doesn't break your heart if it breaks itself. You know, wear it to the beach, go out and about. And, well, what I encourage you to do is you can go to Facebook or Instagram and search Dillon Rings, see the latest custom design work Josh Ryder's put together. As we talked about earlier, he has a brand new pendant that's inspired by the eclipse, really beautiful piece. Or, of course, you can really stop by 119 Brown Springs Road, right here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway. And be sure to tell them that, well, Joey and Eddie, those fellows on the radio, sent you. Without further ado, right across the desk from me, we have Caroline Dobson. Hey, Caroline, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
So where all have you been in the last few days?
More like, where haven't I been? I started off yesterday here in Montgomery, where we live, and then went over to Chatham in Washington County, Leroy, and then down to Mobile, and then back up here. And then today been making some rounds in the Montgomery area, so I've been pretty local today. And then I'm headed down to Monroe County, where I grew up, tonight. The folks down there are having a rally for me, so I'm really awesome. Really excited about that, and just very, very grateful to get to spend time back in my home county. I actually haven't gotten to spend as much time in my home county because they know me, and I probably know all they need to know about me, teenage antics and everything. So it's going to be nice to get to see some familiar faces this evening.
Well, yeah, I'll just be very blunt. I've been very impressed with you so far in the campaign. I've been, and I'm not easily impressed by politicians, but I think you've answered a lot of my questions, very much to my satisfaction. But here's the deal. You're new. You aren't a career politician.
Right.
But it makes me wonder, if you get into, say, this race in November, what are the Democrats going to throw at you? Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm asking you fully, has the Oppo research been done? Like, this is what I'm worried about is, like, can you win in November at this point?
Yeah, no. And actually, Alabama Daily News did a poll as if the election were held, now. And I was ahead of Shamari. And I outperformed my opponent against Anthony Daniels too, although Anthony was a little bit ahead in that mono and mono poll. But no, I mean, then I think just the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you is the fact that people are kind of fed up with career politicians. They're fed up with people that are more concerned about tweeting than they are about doing things and working hard. And again, also, I think there's, sometimes the temptation is when it's a purple district like this, oh, well, we need a moderate. That's the last thing we need. We need a strong, true conservative who's going to motivate the base and get people out to vote. I think that's where the Republican Party's been hurting themselves sometimes in these purple districts. It's well, we've got to have someone that's kind of towards the center to attract the center. No, you need to have someone that inspires conservatives to get out and vote and is unabashed in standing up for conservative values, because the truth is there are more and more Democrats that are kind of looking themselves in the mirror and saying, I don't like where the country's headed, or, the fact that Biden made Easter Transgender Day, is just such a slap in the face to people of faith of all political parties. So I think more and more Democrats are starting to see the light, and also just, every time they go to the grocery store,
Right.
they have to understand that, Bidenomics isn't working. Every time, there's another crime committed by an illegal alien, they've got to be worried about their kids like I am.
Now, and something I believe you pointed out to me, I suspect you wouldn't necessarily describe yourself as a feminist, nor would I suspect even Senator Brett or, say, Governor Ivey. But you pointed out to me that if you drew the district as it's now drawn and you look at past races, both Senator Brett and Governor Ivey did incredibly well in this district, right?
That's right. That's right. And I think, they both have a lot of support among younger voters too. Certainly Senator Brett. And that's a big voting bloc that doesn't always show up to vote, doesn't always prioritize voting. And that's a huge problem. We've got to start talking about politics at the dinner table. I feel like for years and years you hear, don't talk about politics. That's what's wrong with our country, because we don't have enough people that are talking about politics. That's how I grew up. I remember one of my earliest memories is all the fall leading up to the Bush-Clinton election. Every night at supper, when we're saying our family prayer, my dad would end the prayer and please help George Bush win in November. And then when he didn't, I was in kindergarten and I kind of thought the world was going to end. And so my mom kind of had to be like, well, Phil, it's, you need to maybe tone this down. But I mean, we talked about politics at the dinner table, and I think that's what we're missing in America. But, getting back to this district, we've got to motivate younger voters. And a lot of times, women don't always vote, or sometimes they're kind of the swing vote. But then again, I think the fact that, I'm from the district, I'm raising my kids in the district, I'm deeply concerned about where our country's headed, and I'm fighting for Alabama families. I think that's going to resonate really well with parents and younger voters and especially moms.
Now, what's in the news today? Let's kick it around a little bit. Right now, Congress is back in session. There's all this, I think, arm twisting and also, the art of persuasion and whatever they do up there to get $60 billion more for Ukraine. Would you be for that?
Absolutely not. We have got to secure our border. I mean, we are being invaded right now by illegal aliens, and we have got to prioritize securing our border. We've got to prioritize increasing our military preparedness. I've spoke before, I'm not, it's not that I'm a hawk, but we have got to be strong again. That means we've, first of all, got to have a strong commander in chief, one who's fit to stand trial and enter into treaties. And that's why it's so important that we get Trump back in the White House. But we also, we've got to increase, not only, we've got to restore trust with our servicemen and women. That means we've got to stop treating them like guinea pigs for liberal social experiments. We lost thousands of troops who resigned because of the vaccine mandate. And then Biden rescinded that. And then to date, less than 50 of those thousands have reenlisted. That's just one example. Of course, all of the trans agenda that the Pentagon's been pushing. And then also the way we treat our veterans. The fact that, how can you expect young people to want to sign up to serve their country when they see how our veterans are treated? There are over 400,000 veterans here in Alabama. And it's appalling how they're treated. The fact that the Biden administration is sending VA doctors and staff to the border to treat illegal aliens. So again, we've first got to prioritize our border, and then secondly, increase our own. We should not be sending blank checks at the expense of our own military preparedness. And then if somehow we could, by some miracle, we could close the border, send everyone who's here illegally home, increase our military preparedness. I think one issue that I have with, sending money to Ukraine is the lack of transparency. Where is it going? The equipment, where is it going? And also the fact that we're not privy to a strategy for realistic resolution to that conflict. I think Putin's a bad actor. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think we have been included in any sort of a game plan for bringing some sort of resolution to what's going on over there.
Now, you mentioned closing the border. When you say close the border, what do you mean?
By close the border, I mean we've got to build the wall, we've got to close the border and send everyone that's here illegally home. If you're talking about exports and imports through our ports, then no, that continues. But this is an unprecedented number of illegal aliens that have come across. So we've got to take unprecedented actions. I think we do have to close the border and, get everyone who's here illegally, get them back home, enforce the stay in Mexico policy. And then I think we also have to revisit the commonly referred to as the anchor baby policy. We're at a point where I don't, a child that's born here in America to illegal aliens should not be entitled to citizenship. We've got to change that because, as it stands now, a lot of those who have come across in the past 3 years would be entitled to stay. The baby and the mother, and again, it's not that my heart doesn't hurt for anyone who's suffering throughout the world, but America was not intended to be a receptacle for people from all the failed governments throughout the world.
Right.
So.
Well, and now another thing in the news, we were playing it yesterday, Donald Trump coming out with a pretty strong statement where his position is on the issue of abortion and IVF. It sounds like he very strongly supports IVF. We want beautiful babies. And he said something to that effect. But then he also came out, and I think this is getting more conversation on the right, and said he thinks it should be left to the states. That after Roe being overturned by Dobbs, let the states decide. Where are you on this issue?
Well, I am so grateful for the court and the Dobbs decision saying that this is a states' rights issue. I stand with the legislature of Alabama in being one of the states that most vigilantly protects life. When you talk about just where we are as a nation, it's very sad that we are so far apart. I think I've mentioned before the Born Alive Act in 2019 when it was in the U.S. Senate, which basically just said any baby that's born alive in a hospital is entitled to medical care. Should be a no-brainer. That's basic human rights, and that was all but 2 Democrat senators voted against that. So I think the reality is this is a states' rights issue, and we have got to fight throughout the country to ensure that other states are protecting life as vigilantly as Alabama is.
Well, we got to hit a quick break,
Sure.
and then we'll come back and talk some more here. But first, pardon me, Caroline. This part of the program, Eddie, brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health.
I see.
Yeah, and Montgomery Men's Health can help out you fellas. 2 things happen as men mature. One could be, issues in the bedroom. Erectile dysfunction, I think, is the official scientific term. But it also could be a more general problem, low testosterone. Maybe that, in fact, is causing the bedroom issues. But there at Montgomery Men's Health, they were created to take care of guys who hate going to the doctor. Right. So get by there. And actually, there are new studies that come out that, like these pills guys take, like all those wrestling podcasts, they advertise these things. The pills stop working, and guys start making excuses for coming to bed. Did you know that studies show that men will be more irritable and argumentative before bed just to avoid failing at intimacy?
Interesting.
Yeah, because they're embarrassed. They don't want to go through that. So here's the deal, guys. If you're lacking motivation, energy, drive, including a loss of sex drive, you're just always feeling tired, feel like you're walking through your life in a fog, knowing whether or not you have low testosterone is huge in combating some of these issues. And so the providers of Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And Montgomery Men's Health has low-T treatments that can truly change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. Brother. That's right, brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, you usually even notice, and increased libido. You can actually book the same day that you call. Guys, it's time to feel amazing and hit your goals this year. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Hey guys, are you looking for a professional and reliable tree service company in the Montgomery and surrounding areas? Well, check out the folks at Tree Masters. It's a name you know and trust. From pruning to full tree removal, they'll even help you remove your shrubs. They service all of Central Alabama, including Lake Martin and Lake Jordan. Call them for a free quote today at 334-676-3638. That's 334-676-3638. Tree Masters.
Hi, this is Don Duncan with Don Duncan's All-American Automotive and Tire. Just want to say a big thank you to Blue Water Broadcasting. They've been a big partner in our success. And again, thank you guys so much for all you've done for us. If you need anything, come see us. Again, this is Don Duncan with All-American Auto and Tire.
Our advertisers are our biggest advocates. Call us to find out how radio can increase your bottom line. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
On the other side of the coin, what's really hot today, which has been hot during that time frame we're talking about before COVID, is sales and marketing roles.
Chris Lawrence is with HireWell. They recruit talent to companies, and he and I talk about the trends in talent recruiting today and what employers are looking for the most. Listen to What's Working Saturday noon or find us online at what'sworkingcam.com.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Hi, everybody. Big weather changes soon with a high-impact storm system that'll be affecting us. But today, not too bad, with a high temperature up to about 79, mostly cloudy, some widely scattered showers possible. Tonight's low down to about 61. Tomorrow and tomorrow night, widespread rain and thunderstorms, especially beginning in the afternoon, more likely in the evening and nighttime hours, and locally heavy rainfall totals. Also, a severe weather risk with all modes of severe weather possible. The high in the upper 70s on Wednesday, up to about 73 Thursday with maybe some leftover showers first half of the day. Then nice weather Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
At ASE Credit Union, financing your next adventure is easier than ever with rates as low as 5.25%. Apply online or visit your local branch today. Federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
ASE Credit Union, your life, your goals, your ASE.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. News and views in the afternoon, and still here in the studio with us, we have Caroline Dobson, candidate for Congress. And Caroline, if folks, before we keep going here, want to support your campaign before the runoff, how can they do so?
Sure. Yeah. And we've got lists of upcoming events and that sort of thing. It's www.dobsonforcongress. That's DOB as in Bravo, SONFOR, Congress.com. We also have Instagram, Facebook, X, and Truth Social accounts, Dobson for Congress. So please check us out.
Fantastic. So as we look at, going into November, what do you think are the top issues? Are we still pretty much seeing Americans upset about the cost of living and just how do we even remedy these issues at this point?
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess first and foremost is the border, certainly. But, again, increasingly, as we have all of these illegal aliens that are seeking our social services, it's interrelated with economy, of course. But yes, also, again, kind of right up there is the economy, inflation, interest rates. The sad thing is, because of 3 years of the Biden administration, there is no quick fix. Certainly one thing we could do immediately that would make an impact is become energy independent again. It's not just, gas prices, diesel. For my family's small farm, for instance, in Monroe County, our fuel and fertilizer costs are 143% this past year of what they were when Biden took office. And that's just a small operation. So, just the production cost, also transportation costs, of course. So being energy independent would be a huge step towards stabilizing, inflation. And also, we won't be paying bad actors like Venezuela, nations in the Middle East. Another thing we could do is cut government spending. And we have got to not only maintain control of the House, but also strengthen our Republican majority so we don't have Speaker Johnson having to try to make deals with the Democrats. I mean, we need to take a stand and finally cut government spending. That will have a huge impact in inflation. And the M2 money supply increased 40% during COVID. So, we also, we need, Federal Reserve reform. The Federal Reserve is neither federal nor is it a reserve. The fact that, it has a dual mandate that's conflicting. It's supposed to keep inflation under control, but then also, boost employment. So I think that needs a radical revisit. That's not a quick fix. But that's also something that I think and we've talked about before, just kind of on a monetary level, our country, we've got to revisit some of the ways that we handle our money supply. The separation of money and state is also huge. So,
well, and I'm no financial expert by any means, but I like the idea of, I think David Stockman came up with, move the Fed to a banker's bank, get rid of the dual mandate,
right,
and then give a kind of a backup through the discount window. You can, if you got liquidity problems, you can borrow at a penalty.
Right. Because if you look at just the past few years, interest rates should have been raised long ago, but then it becomes it's politicized, and the Fed Reserve chair doesn't want to lose his job and doesn't want to do something that's unpopular, and that's not what the purpose is, allegedly. That's another reason we have inflation on record levels right now. It's because everything's become so politicized.
Now, another thing in the news that I'm reading, this is from Matt Welch. I believe he's one of the top editors there at Reason magazine, that libertarian rag. He says Janet Yellen in 2022 said this about the IRS $80 billion hiring spree. Contrary to the misinformation, this is Yellen, from opponents, small business or household earning $400,000 per year or less will not see an increase in the chances they are audited. Well, Treasury Inspector General, now in 2024, as distilled down by the Wall Street Journal, as of last summer, 63% of new audits have targeted taxpayers with income of less than $200,000. What are we doing about the IRS? Like, there's one thing saying we're not raising taxes, we need to cut taxes. Can we even go further than that?
Oh, absolutely. We definitely, we have got to downscale the executive branch as a whole, eliminate some agencies entirely, drastically defund many agencies, and one of those is the IRS. Think about this district. I would say the vast majority of this district is made up of businesses or individuals making less than $200,000 a year. I mean, so much of this district is small towns and, small businesses within those towns. So who's hit hardest by that? District 2 in Alabama. So we have got to, and again, that's, when we're trying to cut government spending, I recognize that there are categories, of government spending that, true infrastructure, that Biden has been defining infrastructure as anything under the sun. We've got to get back to a very narrow definition of infrastructure, but infrastructure and, there has to be some defense spending, I understand, but we have got the way we can balance the budget is by drastically reducing the size of the executive branch. And Trump in 2020 issued the Regulatory Bill of Rights, which provided some guidelines for, executive agency investigations, audits, for instance. Right. It's, as between different agencies, there's no standard burden of proof. In many instances, more often than not, the individual or the business bears the burden of proving that they're innocent, as opposed to the agency proving that you violated something or haven't complied with the letter of the regulation. And the Regulatory Bill of Rights was a huge victory for small business owners, for the private citizen. And then, of course, Biden, within 40 days of office, rescinded it because it was too burdensome. But that's one of my priorities, is to codify the Regulatory Bill of Rights. But in addition to that, again, we have got to dramatically reduce the size and the power of the executive branch.
Yeah, and I'm worried that the administrative state, I think if Trump is reelected, he's going to need defenders in Congress if he's doing more than just the Bill of Rights, where he's taking an axe to certain aspects of the administrative state. And I worry in a deep way that when we hear constantly about the interagency process, which on its face makes sense, everybody is in the room, all the principals in the room, what decision are we going to make? But it seems like that is the actual government more so than the elected officials.
Right. No, you see that play out in businesses and education. The Federal Department of Education, for instance, the average Federal Department of Education employee makes over $100,000 a year. The average Alabama teacher makes $51,000 a year. That money should be going to the states. And, I think we should either totally abolish the Federal Department of Education or somehow really dramatically reduce its scale. I'd be down for federally, abolishing the Federal Department of Education as long as there was some way to ensure that girls' sports remain for girls, that the NCAA does not have the ability to include Leah Thomas's in sports. So I think there does need to be some sort of federal law or structure to protect our girls. I've got 2 girls myself, and I'm deeply concerned about, I don't know if they take after me, they may not be great athletes, but my husband's a pretty good athlete, but, I don't want them, but regardless, I don't want them to have boys in their locker rooms, boys, and in their swimming pools competing against them, biological male camp counselors in their dorms, and it's just silly that we're even having to discuss this, but here we are.
Now, I've heard somebody earlier on the show before this, not one of the hosts, a caller called in. And in a way, I'm kind of happy this is happening, what I'm about to say, but it's also, I think, my brain was torn. Like, well, that's not really fair to Caroline. The lady essentially said, well, she went to Harvard. That tells me everything I need to know, which Harvard losing its prestige ain't the worst thing in the world, but could you address that? You did go to Harvard.
It does tell her everything she needs to know, and that I stood for conservative values when I was surrounded by a sea of liberals, and I'll do it again in Washington. Look, I grew up in Monroeville. I spent the first 5 years of my life in a mobile home. I had Spanish on a videotape, and my English teacher encouraged me to apply to Harvard on the Common Application. I'd written my college essay on being a rodeo queen, and I got into Harvard. And my parents were, wow, you got into Harvard, you should go to Harvard. And I didn't know anything about it. Everyone else in my family had either not gone to college or had gone to Auburn. So I'm grateful to have had that opportunity. It certainly opened my eyes to a lot. I was exposed to, people from all over the world. But what I was most exposed to that impacted me the most was just seeing, living in an environment that is far left. you know, seeing where free speech was truly suppressed. And this was before woke was even a word.
Right.
My senior year at Harvard, the administration implemented a meatless Monday. So everyone lives on campus. You got to eat on campus. They implemented meatless Mondays to cut costs, right? But it was a green initiative. Coming from a cattle farming background, I was offended. I would buy a hamburger and take it into the dining hall hot and steamy and eat it in front of everyone. I was just infuriated. It's on so many ways, it made me understand why I was conservative, why I believed in limited government. I'm grateful to have grown up in an environment where, you know, everyone believed in God and, you know, most people were conservative. But for me, it really forged my political beliefs, and it made me stand up for my faith, stand up for God. And it's kind of like, I guess those, you know, you read about missionaries that, you know, go to live with you know, some tribe, and they live their whole life, and they never get one convert until on their deathbed, and finally the tribal chieftain converts or something. But that's kind of, you know, how I felt too. I was trying, you know, I've been working on my college roommates for years, and I've converted 2 now. So I feel like, you know, at least hopefully maybe there'll be more. But it's been, you know, it was certainly isolating, but yeah, Harvard does let you know that I was not afraid to stand up for my conservative values and for God up there, and I won't be afraid to do it again.
No, and this just came to mind when you're talking about converting your roommates. I've noticed, and I've been saying on the show, and I'm not the only one, that I think the biggest divide in America isn't the usual Republican Democrat. It's not black, white. I think it's men, women, especially single men and single women. You know, guys like me, single guys, we tend to be very strongly either just on the right, not necessarily even Republican, but on the right.
Right.
Whereas single women are the complete opposite. And I'm talking, I think some polls show 30-point gap. So what do you make of that? Because you're married, and actually when people get married, they tend to even out, and tend to be more center right. But what do you make of this divide between men and women that's really hewing to a partisan divide?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You know, and I see, you know, also I think it's to me, you know, my first kind of threshold for dating someone, of course, was, you know, do they share my faith? And then number 2 was, do they share my values? And I'm very grateful. I mean, I'm not saying that we are just lockstep on every single issue, but my husband and I pretty much see eye to eye politically, and I'm so grateful for his support in this race. And because we not only see eye to eye politically, but also you know, think that being engaged and being involved is really important. Because of that, I'm so grateful that I'm enabled to run, because I think if I had a spouse, apathy is just as big of a problem. If I had a spouse that was, you know, apathetic, this would be really difficult, because he's had to make a lot of sacrifices too. We've got 2 kids, so it's certainly been hard. But, you know, I think a lot of the divide you see is just this far left narrative about toxic masculinity. And I think, you know, in our hearts there, you know, women, not that we aren't strong and empowered, and not that we, you know, can't achieve any goal we set our minds to, but you know, I don't buy into that. And I think that's kind of, you know, again, that narrative is sort of driving the genders apart, because I think it's really hard for a young man to kind of grow up now, because they're being told, you know, you have these traditional ideas of manhood. And I don't know, the Rudyard Kipling poem "If" is just one of my favorite. It brings a tear to my eye every time. But then on the other end, they're getting kind of beat over the head with don't be a toxic male. Like, what does that even mean? And the thing is, I think, you know, women are, again, I think God made us to be attracted to masculine men, you know, certainly kind, gracious men, but you know, masculinity is I think we're missing that in our culture today.
Yeah, no, I think you just hit the nail on the head. But though I'll admit to plenty of apathy and self-hatred, and that's so attractive, right? But I appreciate...
But just that Timothy Chalamet guy, the fact that he's a heartthrob, I'm like, ugh. You know, what is attractive about him? He just looks puny.
Yeah, I don't get the Zendaya thing either, or whatever her name is. Anyway.
I guess, too much, what do we do? Amorphous type, androgynous.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it seems to be where things are going.
Yeah, give me Gary Cooper.
Fair enough. So before we close up shop, I got a last break, go to a sponsor here. But if folks want to get out and support you again, how can they do
Yes.
so? And just send us some closing words here before the runoff.
Yeah, you can check me out at www.dobson for Congress, DOB as in Bravo, SONFOR Congress.com. Also, social media, X, Truth Social, Instagram, and Facebook, Dobson for Congress. But no, I just, again, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to have met so many wonderful people in this district. It's inspired me to work harder, to try to give them a voice in Washington. And I just ask you to please vote for me next Tuesday, April 16th.
Well, I appreciate the time as always, and best of luck
Thank
next
you.
Tuesday. And I guess we might talk on Election Day if you're down.
I'd be down.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, more news and views after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Independent Glass has been your one-stop shop for all things glass since 1978. They offer a full range of architectural products, and they're armed with the knowledge and expertise to get even the most demanding job done, big or small. Attention to detail, 24-hour replacement services, and their uncompromising commitment to excellence is why Montgomery's first choice for all things glass is Independent Glass. Call them today at 263-2823 and learn more about what they can do for you at independentglassco.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Final closing minutes here. Oh, what a show, Eddie. Packed. It really has been a packed show. Well, did we learn anything today?
I'm sure we learned lots of stuff.
We've barely even got to talk to each other.
Well, Roxy's kind of keeping my hands full.
Hey,
She's
Roxy.
been great. She's been wonderful, but
Roxy
just makes me nervous.
Hey, Roxy.
She wants this ball.
Go
That's
get
what
it.
she wants. Yeah.
Hey, oh yeah, let's talk to Ray Bowles of Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray.
How you doing, Ray?
Man, I almost did something really bad.
Oh?
As soon as y'all call me. A lot of people don't realize y'all call me and I answer the phone and I wait about, 30 seconds to go on there?
Yeah.
Right.
I had a good friend of mine just call me and I almost accepted the call and, pulled him into the conversation and not tell him what was going on.
Yeah, you like to do that, Ray.
Yeah, I just about did. I said, no, I better not.
Live radio, Ray. It's live radio.
Yeah, live radio. Well, he was calling to talk about turkey hunting, which neither one of us has got in the woods yet.
Oh, no.
Which y'all's fault.
Yeah? Keeping you busy, are we?
Yeah. I am so busy, I haven't even thought about getting in the woods.
Well,
and we're already, April the 9th?
Yep.
And we can even use decoys right now, and I still haven't been out there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I apologize for nothing and certainly not making you busy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all my friends, we have some place out in Macon County, and all my friends tell me that's where turkeys go to live old and die.
Well, so, where all have you been? You had to do a few jobs today for Prattville Carpet?
Well, I went up to Alabaster and measured one. Wow. Donna's retiring and moving there, so that's actually a family member. So I got to take care of my sister. It is what it is. Yeah. So, and now I'm back here working on this shower, trying to get it all plugged away and sent over for a quote. And just busy as bees. Everybody's in here working as hard as they can, and there's a reason for it. We have the best price, best service, the quickest turnaround time. You call us, we're coming running for that measurement.
So, folks, that number's still 285-8117.
It is. Call us today, 365-285. I can't even think of it.
285-8117, folks. And when you call 285-8117, be sure to tell them you heard Ray Bowles here on the radio with Joey and Eddie.
Guys, have a great day.
You too, Ray. See you, brother.
Oh, what a show, though.
Packed, man. We had a
Very
good show.
packed. My goodness.
Lots of information went out there today.
Yeah, you could say that. And I've been telling folks, sometimes the most difficult thing is context switching.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you go from talking to two hardcore libertarians to talking to the Consul General for Israel to talking to two congressional candidates, it's kind of changing frames a little.
Certainly.
I'm like mentally tired right now. I'm not complaining. It's just the truth.
Well,
What a day.
You had a lot of attractive women in here today. Got to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just as a bystander, I'm saying.
Yeah.
You brought you brought the hotties. So.
I didn't even notice.
Well, I bet if you go in the chat, people noticed. And I haven't even looked at the chat, but I guarantee you, whenever we have women on, the chat notices.
Right.
And we had really smart women on today, so I'm sure the chat noticed.
Captivate even, Eddie?
There were a couple, I got to be honest. Not the queen of captivation.
Oh, right. The Queen of Captivation.
Yeah.
Now that's a name. But I miss us being able to just like talk about how we eat like fattening food. So how much beans and ham?
Yeah, guess what I'm having.
I got time to talk to you about this. So you made this beans and ham yourself.
Yeah, I made lima beans and with some leftover Easter ham. How you put it in the crock pot. And
right.
It was amazing.
Thus beans and ham.
Yeah, that's 6 bowls of beans and ham.
How many pounds is that?
I don't know, but let's just say my body has finally taken a break, and they're asking me internally, do not pick up any more beans and ham for a while.
Do you still have some left?
Yeah, I'm going to eat for dinner tonight.
Well, you've been listening to News and Views with Joey, and well, actually, we should change our names to Beans and Ham.
Beans and ham.
I'll be the beans, you be the ham.
That's right.
Goodness gracious. Seriously, folks, there are days where I'd just rather shoot with Eddie than all the serious politics, but I do appreciate all our guests.
Oh, we had some good ones, man.
And we'll be back tomorrow.
That's right.
Right at 12 noon. But y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg Beadle. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM.